Chapter 403. After giving Nangong Huang and the others some instructions, Chu Kuangren also planned to go into closed-door meditation and consume the yin-yang soul pill to improve his soul energy. While he was in closed-door meditation, in the outside world, in the unknown lands at the Heavenly Golden Palace. I see. The current Heavenly Golden Palace Lord, Sage Ruler Zhangguang, was holding an ancient book in his hands. He seemed to have understood something as he laughed heartily. Purple Void Sage walked up to him and asked curiously, "Palace Lord, why are you so happy?" "Purple Void, didn't you tell me a few days ago that you wanted to do something to Chu Kuangren?" Sage Ruler Zhangguang chuckled. "Indeed, but didn't you say that Chu Kuangren might be in contact with the Headless Lady and that you've cancelled your plan to target him?" Purple Void Sage said helplessly. He did not know that Chu Kuangren was in contact with the Headless Lady. If things went south, they would be in big trouble. No matter how displeased they were with Chu Kuangren, they would not dare to mess with the entire Heavenly Golden Palace. "Cancel? How can we cancel it?" Sage Ruler Zhangguang sneered. "This person's existence has broken the balance. We must get rid of him, but before that, we must have a foolproof plan. I've been studying the Headless Lady's records for the past few days, and I've finally found a clue about Chu Kuangren's trump card." Purple Void Sage's eyes lit up. "What do you mean, Palace Lord?" Go and inform the sect leaders of Acheron Manor, Ethereal Rapture, Craggy Ocean Tower, and other orthodoxies to gather here. It's time to get rid of Chu Kuangren." Sage Ruler Zhangguang said coldly. Not long after, a few ancient bronze mirrors appeared in the Heavenly Golden Palace's Great Hall. A few rays of light shot out from the mirrors and formed into a few figures. They were the sect leaders of the unknown lands. The Craggy Ocean Tower Lord, Acheron Manor Lord, and the others had all appeared in the Heavenly Golden Palace in their spiritual thought forms. It was a secret technique that allowed the unknown lands to communicate with each other. It was only used during important meetings. "Brother Zhangguang, did something happen to summon us with the mirror technique?" A middle-aged man with graying temples asked. This person was the tower master of the mysterious moon tower in the unknown lands. "I've gathered all of you here because there's a matter that needs to be resolved. That Chu Kuangren cannot be allowed to live any longer," Sage Ruler Zhangguang said. Hearing this, the sect leaders looked at each other. A gray-robed elder, who was the Craggy Ocean Tower Lord, said, "Chu Kuangren's existence is indeed a threat. However, Chu Kuangren's strength is frightening, and he might not be any weaker than anyone here. On top of that, he also has the Headless Lady to rely on." "How are you going to deal with him, Brother Zhangguang?" At the mention of the Headless Lady, a man with a golden scale on his forehead instantly turned grim. He snorted and said, "I don't think I need to tell you how terrifying that Headless Lady is. If we don't deal with her, how are we going to deal with Chu Kuangren?" "Ruins Master, of course I have the confidence to invite you here." Sage King Zhangguang chuckled. The eyes of the others lit up. "Does Daoist Zhangguang have a way to deal with the Headless Woman? How is that possible? That woman must have been an emperor when she was alive. How could the Heavenly Golden Palace possibly handle her? What in the world is going on?" The sect leaders were in disbelief. Although the unknown lands were said to have a strong foundation, they did not have many emperors. It was impossible for them to deal with an emperor. Otherwise, the bottomless chasm would not have been so badly injured. The Heavenly Golden Palace may not be able to handle the Headless Lady, but the Black Heaven sect is even more unlikely. Sage King Zhangguang said. "What do you mean?" The Dark Moon in Lord asked. "I've looked through the ancient records. The Headless Lady has appeared a few times in history. According to the records, the Headless Lady behaves oddly as if she's looking for her head. Before Chu Kuangren, the Headless Lady first appeared several tens of thousands of years ago. She had an encounter with a boundary emperor and severely injured that boundary emperor. According to the records, that boundary emperor had a woman's head in his possession. That boundary emperor then fled to the outer seas, and there has been no news of him ever since. If I'm not mistaken, the nameless island that appeared not long ago was the residence of that boundary emperor. He had the Headless Lady's head, and the island's appearance caused the headless lady to reappear. I'm sure everyone knows that Chu Kuangren obtained an opportunity of fortune on that island. I'm guessing that the opportunity of fortune is the headless lady's head. When Chu Kuangren severely injured the bottomless chasm previously, he used that head to lure the headless lady to the outer seas. That's his greatest source of confidence. Sage King Zhongguang explained. The crowd fell into deep thought after they heard that. Chu Kuangren may not be able to control the headless lady, but he has this weapon in his hands. That's enough to make us hesitate. However, if we join forces and attack the Black Heaven sect, no matter how crazy Chu Kuangren is, he won't dare to summon the headless lady here. Because if the headless lady appears in the Black Heaven sect, the Black Heaven sect will be as good as gone. Sage King Zhongguang continued. He had more or less analyzed the headless lady, and he made it clear that he wanted the unknown lands to join him in attacking the Black Heaven sect. That way, they could eliminate the threat that was Chu Kuangren once and for all. Since Chu Kuangren dared not summon the headless lady, then I shall not let this matter rest so easily. Count me in for the Black Heaven sect's annihilation. The great chasm dweller of the bottomless chasm said, My Empyrean walker from Acheron Manor has died in Chu Kuangren's hands. I intend to settle this score with him as well. The Acheron Manor Lord also accepted sage ruler Zhongguang's invitation. The others looked at each other and seemed to be hesitating. Count Ethereal Rapture in. Master Daoist Yun Tao of Ethereal Rapture said calmly. The thought of Chu Kuangren taking away so many premium chalcedonies made him grit his teeth in anger. Of course, he would not let go of such a great opportunity to get rid of Chu Kuangren. Everyone, Chu Kuangren is too much of a threat. We must succeed this time. Therefore, the more power, the better. Sage King Zhongguang looked at the remaining sect leaders and said, This matter is of great importance. Let us think about it. The craggy Ocean Tower Lord said, All right, please give me an answer in 3 days. If there's no reply in 3 days, we'll assume that you're not participating in this operation. Sage ruler Zhongguang said, All right. Understood. The sect leaders replied one by one before their spiritual thought transformations dispersed. Inside the craggy Ocean Tower, the craggy Ocean Tower Lord was still hesitating. Chu Kuangren is an unfathomable person. Who knows how many trump cards he has up his sleeves? Besides, he has the headless lady's head in his hands. What if he goes berserk and kills everyone? This matter is of great importance, so I must think about it carefully. At that moment, a young man walked into the palace. Yuan Xian, why are you back? The craggy Ocean Tower Lord was surprised. Yuan Xian was the craggy Ocean Tower's new Empyrean walker after Li Zhe's death. Honorable teacher, I'm back because I've found out who killed senior brother Li Zhe, Yuan Xian said solemnly. Who is it? A murderous intent flashed across the craggy Ocean Tower Lord's eyes. Chu Kuangren. Chapter 404. Chu Kuangren. Yuan Xian said in a serious tone. The craggy Ocean Tower Lord was taken aback. What? How could it be him? Senior brother Li Zhe used to be a member of the Nine-Head clan. After I left the mountain, I went there to investigate. Although I didn't find any useful clues, I heard that the crown prince of the royal Azure dynasty, Guchanga, had betrayed them and stolen the nine-headed snakelet pearl. I thought that it might be related to senior brother Li Zhe. That's why I secretly investigated and found out that during that period of time, Chu Kuangren had been to the royal Azure dynasty. He was also the one who retrieved the nine-headed snakelet pearl. It's highly likely that the nine-headed snakelet pearl was taken from senior brother Li Zhe instead of Guchanga. I'm 80% sure that Chu Kuangren was the one who killed senior brother Li Zhe, Yuan Xian said confidently. The craggy Ocean Tower Lord's expression turned grim at that, and a terrifying aura erupted from his body. Chu Kuangren, I didn't want to participate in this operation, but you've killed my beloved disciple. If you don't die, I won't be able to appease the hatred in my heart. On the other side, at the sacred palace of death, the sacred palace lord, who was shrouded in a gray robe and emanated a strange aura of death, was holding a meeting. Everyone was discussing the operation to annihilate the Black Heaven sect. Palace Lord, Chu Kuangren must die. An elder said, if he doesn't die, he'll monopolize the opportunities of fortune of emperors from now on, and no one else will stand a chance. That's right. The era of great battles cannot tolerate such an anomaly. Besides that, the previous Sage Palace Protector, the Black Light Sage, once possessed an extremely powerful gluttonous devouring technique. This technique is now in Chu Kuangren's hands. Since this is the Sage Palace's technique, we must retrieve it. That's right. More than 80% of the Sacred Palace of Death Elders agreed to annihilate the Black Heaven sect, and the Sacred Palace Lord himself agreed as well. In the deep sea, a beam of dazzling blue light soared into the sky, and all kinds of magnificent scenery of the deep sea appeared in the void. Among them, the most shocking were the numerous palaces that rose and fell one after another. Their shape could be said to be the work of the gods. They were incomparably gorgeous, dignified, and filled with the vicissitudes of history. Those were the buildings that had stood for countless years. This was the most mysterious and ancient kingdom at the bottom of the sea, the ultimate. And today, the sinkhole had appeared. We are the sinkhole. It has been more than 116,000 years since we were founded. Today, those who are fated can enter the sinkhole to cultivate. Almost at the same time. In the Black Warrior domain of the firmament star, a sudden burst of dense Daoist rhymes erupted from the top of a mountain, spreading across half of the firmament star. A magnificent palace appeared from the void and landed on the mountain peak. We are the Heavenly Golden Palace. It has been more than 108,000 years since we were founded. Today, those who are fated may join our orthodoxy. Firmament star, Vermilion Bird domain. In an incomparably silent forest, a large amount of gray death chi gushed out. Wherever it went, the entire mountain range turned into a land of death. A sinister and treacherous black castle appeared in the depths of the cold. We are the sacred temple of death. It has been 43,000 years since we were founded. Today, those who enter our orthodoxy can transcend life and death. We are the craggy ocean tower. We are ethereal rapture. One sonorous voice after another resounded throughout the firmament star. The Heavenly Golden Palace, the sinkhole, the craggy ocean tower, the ethereal rapture, the sacred temple of death, and several other unknown lands appeared at the same time. All the cultivators were dumbfounded. F***me, the unknown lands have completely appeared? What's going on? Why is it happening so suddenly? This is going to be interesting. Once the unknown lands have completely appeared, the current status quo will be broken. The sage orthodoxies of the past will no longer be the rulers of the firmament star. These sage orthodoxies only have two choices. They can either attach themselves to the unknown lands, or they can maintain the status quo. However, a lot of cultivation resources will definitely be taken by these unknown lands. If any conflicts occur, it's even possible that they'll be wiped out. Yeah, times have changed. The complete appearance of the unknown lands was shocking. Many people were guessing what these orthodoxies would do next. Would they expand their territory or would they recruit some new members? However, before the crowd could figure out the reason, these orthodoxies made a move again. This time, it shocked everyone. The sinkhole has appeared. Destroy the Black Heaven sect first. A cold voice came from the deep sea. The Heavenly Golden Palace has appeared. Destroy the Black Heaven sect first. A sonorous voice echoed throughout the sky above the mountain peak. The ethereal rapture has appeared. Destroy the Black Heaven sect first. On the same day, a few of the unknown lands that had appeared announced that they wanted to destroy the Black Heaven sect first. It was as if they had agreed on it. The purpose of their appearance was to destroy the Black Heaven sect. At that moment, the entire firmament star was in an uproar. Countless cultivators from various orthodoxies were paying close attention to the unknown land's next move. They want to destroy the Black Heaven sect as soon as they appear. These unknown lands sure have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. Tisk, I guess it's because of Chu Kuangren. That's for sure. The Black Heaven sect itself isn't that strong, but they have an extremely talented Chu Kuangren who single-handedly suppressed all the sky prides in the world. Who else would they target if not him? Sigh. It's such a shame that Chu Kuangren doesn't know how to hide his strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up like this. The Black Heaven sect's destruction is already a foregone conclusion. With so many unknown lands joining forces, even 10 Black Heaven sects will be destroyed. Chu Kuangren alone won't be enough to stop them. The orthodoxies had different attitudes. Some felt sorry for Chu Kuangren, while others were gloating. Especially the Overlord Sage tribe, Linghu clan, and other orthodoxies who already had a grudge against Chu Kuangren, they were even more gloating. Haha, that arrogant Chu Kuangren has finally tasted the bitter pill this time. Not only him, but the entire Black Heaven sect is going to be destroyed because of him. The Overlord Sage tribe leader laughed excitedly. Chu Kuangren, I can't believe this day has come for you. The Linghu clan's head looked in the direction of the Black Heaven sect with a smile on his face. He then said to an elder, "Spread the word that the Linghu clan is willing to follow the unknown lands to destroy the Black Heaven sect." Following the Linghu clan's announcement, the other orthodoxies who had a grudge against the Black Heaven sect also saw an opportunity. This Linghu clan's head is really cunning. Not only is this a good opportunity to take revenge on the Black Heaven sect, but it's also a good opportunity to build a relationship with the unknown lands and make a name for themselves. Quickly, send someone to the Heavenly Golden Palace. Tell them that the Overlord Sage tribe is willing to join them in attacking the Black Heaven sect. Spread the word that the Thunder Falcon tribe is also willing to be the vanguard of the Black Heaven sect. The Sky Emperor Palace will not shirk our responsibility in attacking the Black Heaven sect. Chu Kuangren killed the serpent deity of the outer seas, so the 36 oceanic islands will never forgive him. We are also willing to join this operation. And the Eight-Wind Palace. The forces who had a grudge against the Black Heaven sect wanted to take this opportunity to seek revenge and build a relationship with the unknown lands. Even some forces who had no grudge against the Black Heaven sect did not want to miss this opportunity to build a relationship with the unknown lands. As one force after another spread the word, the cultivators of the world were dumbfounded. It was as if the Black Heaven sect had become the most heinous existence in the world overnight, and everyone wanted to kill them. The Black Heaven sect was now the enemy of the entire world. Chapter 405. Destroy the Black Heaven sect first. That was the declaration made by the unknown lands after they appeared. Immediately after that, various forces that were trying to seek revenge or seek connections with the unknown lands announced that they would attack the Black Heaven sect together. This included the Overlord Sage tribe, the Linghu clan, the Sky Emperor Palace, and other sage orthodoxies. Even the 36 oceanic islands came to join in the fun. If it was in the past, they would not have dared to provoke the Black Heaven sect even if they were given 10 guts. However, things were different now. With several unknown lands leading the charge to attack the Black Heaven sect, they believed that the Black Heaven sect was doomed. Almost everyone in the world thought so. The Black Heaven sect was now the enemy of the entire world. Defeat and death were almost certain. No matter how strong Chu Kuangren was, it would be impossible for him to turn the tide of the battle. As the encirclement of the Black Heaven sect grew, countless cultivators spread the news. The whole firmament star was as lively as the new year. Everyone was ready to watch. Instead of witnessing the destruction of the Black Heaven sect, they wanted to witness the fall of the sky pride that had shocked the entire era. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. A single person has suppressed the sky prides of an entire era, yet he still can't fight against the entire world. Chu Kuangren, what a shame. I know, right? However, only with his death can the other sky prides have a chance to become emperors. Otherwise, who can compete with him? No one can suppress him. The reason why he failed was because he was too outstanding and attracted the hostility of the entire world. He lost because of the current situation. Countless people were lamenting and feeling sorry for him. Countless cultivators rushed towards the Black Heaven sect. Congratulations, host. You've drawn a legendary talent, conjurer. Chu Kuangren had just come out from his closed-door meditation when he drew a legendary talent. That piqued his curiosity. He opened his inventory and looked at the introduction. A conjurer was a very special and ancient existence. A long time ago in the firmament star, conjurers had a glorious time. They did not cultivate their spiritual power or physical body. They only cultivated their thoughts. They could live or die with a single thought. They could bloom or wither with a single thought. With a single thought he could summon wind and thunder, and with a single thought he could seal thousands of miles in ice. However, as the psychic masters had violated certain taboos, they incurred the wrath of the heavens. From then on, psychic talent became an extremely rare existence, and the legacy of the psychic masters was gradually lost in history. It looks very powerful, Chu Kuangren said as he rubbed his chin. He extracted the talent. Suddenly, an incomparably mysterious feeling welled up in his heart. At that moment, Chu Kuangren felt that his spiritual thoughts seemed to have undergone some inexplicable and peculiar changes. He did not know what this change was, but this kind of feeling was very fascinating. He felt as if his spiritual thoughts had come alive and were operating more smoothly than before. It was no longer just an extension of his vision. With a thought from Chu Kuangren, the teacup in front of him floated into the air on its own without him using any spiritual power at all. All of this was because of a single thought of his. Is this a psychic? Manipulating spiritual thoughts, using invisible mind power to do tangible things. Chu Kuangren felt as if his mind power had transformed into an extension of his 5 senses and even his limbs. It was as if it was equivalent to another him. His mind power spread out and covered more than half of the Black Heaven sect. He could clearly see everyone in the Black Heaven sect, hear every word they said, and even smell the faint fragrance in the air. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the Black Heaven sect's cafeteria had begun its meal. Besides being an extension of his 5 senses, Chu Kuangren also felt that he could use his mind power for other things, such as touching others. His spiritual thoughts quickly retreated like a tidal wave. This is really not bad. Chu Kuangren smiled with a satisfied look on his face. He was now only at the beginner level of a psychic. The introduction said that high-level psychic masters could even use their mind power to do all kinds of incredible things. It's a pity that I only obtained the psychic talent, but not the techniques related to it. Otherwise, I can use my spiritual thoughts to their fullest potential. Chu Kuangren shook his head and said. After that, Chu Kuangren came out of his closed-door meditation. As soon as he came out, Elder Rian and the others hurriedly came to find him and told him about the few great unknown lands. Chu Kuangren was not surprised after hearing that. Ever since he obtained the Qian Imperial Palace's inheritance, he had vaguely guessed that this would happen. These shameless sects are finally not hiding anymore. They're planning to go public and fight the Black Heaven sect head-on. And those so-called sage orthodoxies, they're just a bunch of clowns. How dare they come out and cause trouble instead of staying put? Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin and laughed. The few elders beside him could not help but want to cry. Sect leader, how can you still laugh at a time like this? The few great unknown lands have said that they want to destroy the Black Heaven sect. Now that everyone in the Black Heaven sect is panicking, what should we do? Elder Ruyan said. This is an opportunity. Chu Kuangren chuckled. An opportunity? Yes, spread the word that the Black Heaven sect's disciples who are thinking of leaving should pack their things and leave immediately. However, once they step out of the Black Heaven sect, they will have nothing to do with us anymore. Chu Kuangren said. People say that a friend in need is a friend indeed. This was an opportunity to get rid of the weeds. Only the disciples who were willing to face the pressure and face the difficulties together with the Black Heaven sect were worthy of being nurtured. Elder Ruyan also understood what Chu Kuangren meant. Sect leader, do you really have a way to deal with this? Elder Ruyan asked hesitantly. It was a good idea to use this pressure to select the disciples, but the premise was that the Black Heaven sect could survive this crisis. Otherwise, the Black Heaven sect would die along with a group of loyal disciples. What? You don't have faith in me? Chu Kuangren smiled. Sect leader, it's not that we don't have faith in you, but this is too difficult. There are a few unknown lands and a bunch of sage orthodoxies. If they all attack together, even 10 Black Heaven sects won't be enough to kill them. The Black Heaven sect is practically the world's enemy this time. One of the elders smiled bitterly and said, "Faced with such a situation, anyone would feel hopeless. I know you're afraid and panicking, but please believe that as long as I'm here, the Black Heaven sect will not perish." Chu Kuangren said in a powerful voice. Looking at his determined gaze, Elder Rian and the others took a deep breath and chose to believe in him. "We're willing to live and die with you, sect leader. I've been in the Black Heaven sect for thousands of years. This is my home. Even if I die, I'll die here." "Sect leader, I'll go and prepare for the defense." Black Heaven sect, in front of the Longevity Hall. Countless disciples had gathered together. They were all waiting for Chu Kuangren to appear and give them an explanation. However, the person who appeared was Elder Rian. "Everyone, I believe I don't need to explain the situation that the Black Heaven sect is facing now. The sect leader has said that those who are willing to live and die with the Black Heaven sect can stay. Those who are unwilling can go to the storehouse to collect some soul stones and leave," Elder Rian said loudly. Many people fell silent after hearing that. Chapter 406. Elder Rian did as Chu Kuangren said and gave the disciples the right to choose. This action worried many of the higher-ups. What would happen if they all ran away? One had to know. This time, it was not like any other crisis in the past. The enemies they faced this time were many times stronger than the Black Heaven sect. Almost no one believed that the Black Heaven sect could win. Humans were always selfish in the face of death. No matter how much affection they had for the Black Heaven sect, it was inevitable that they would be swayed in the face of death. After Elder Rian released the news, the Black Heaven sect fell into chaos. Many disciples discussed among themselves. Some wanted to leave, while others wanted to stay. The Black Heaven sect has always treated us well. How can we abandon the Black Heaven sect now? I can't bring myself to do such a thing. Not leaving? Are we just going to wait for death here? That's right. Even if we leave, there will still be people coming to pay their respects to the Black Heaven sect. If everyone dies, there won't be anyone to pay their respects to in the future. How sad would that be? Besides, I don't want to die here. I grew up without parents. It was the elders who brought me to the Black Heaven sect. This is my home. I won't go anywhere else. You bunch of ingrates. If you want to leave, go on your own. Is it wrong for us to be afraid of death? The sect leader said that he would give us a choice. What right do you have to call us ingrates? The entire Black Heaven sect was in a state of chaos. Those who wanted to leave and those who wanted to stay almost fought each other. In the end, Elder Rian and the others came out to suppress the situation. Those who want to leave, the Black Heaven sect won't blame you. Those who want to stay and live and die with the Black Heaven sect, gather in front of the Longevity Hall tomorrow morning. Elder Rian said to the disciples. The next day, in front of the Longevity Hall, Elder Rian and the others gathered together. Today was the day to determine how many people would stay in the Black Heaven sect. To be honest, they were a little nervous. After all, the enemies that the Black Heaven sect had to face this time were too many and too strong. There was almost no chance of winning. Even if all the disciples left, it was not impossible. Not many would stay and participate in a battle that was certain death. The area in front of the Longevity Hall was empty and desolate. Elder Rian sighed softly. Is there no one? Sigh, this battle's disparity is too great. These disciples are all youngsters with great futures ahead of them. It's good that they didn't stay. An elder sighed. At this moment, the sun had just risen, and the first rays of the morning sun shone upon the Longevity Hall. Not far away, a few figures walked over. They were Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, Jun Yi, and a few other Daoists. Behind them was a dense crowd of Black Heaven sect disciples, one after another. They walked over in the morning light, their faces full of determination. Elder Rian and the others wore gratified smiles on their faces. Great! These little bastards have guts. Nangong Huang and the other Daoists brought all the disciples who were willing to stay and fight in the Black Heaven sect to the Longevity Hall. Elder, we are willing to live and die with the Black Heaven sect. Nangong Huang said firmly to Elder Ruyan. I'm willing to live and die with Black Heaven sect. I'm willing to live and die with Black Heaven sect. The group of disciples said firmly. Since they had already decided to stay, they had already cast aside life and death. The doors of the longevity hall opened. Everyone looked over. Chu Kuangren slowly walked out and looked at the disciples in front of him with a smile on his face. I promise everyone here that as long as you and I are here, the Black Heaven sect will not perish. Hearing his words, everyone felt a sense of security in their hearts. The Black Heaven sect will not perish. That's right. As long as the sect leader is here, there's nothing we can't overcome. Ayaya, looking at the sect leader's face, I'm willing to die even if you want me to. I don't want to leave the sect leader behind. Sister, you are absolutely right. Then, Elder Ruyan did a head count. Many people came, but many left as well. There were more than 10,000 people left, which was less than 1/10 of the original Black Heaven sect. However, Chu Kuangren was already very satisfied with this. These disciples were the ones he would focus on training in the future. Apart from the internal changes in the Black Heaven sect. Following the news of the Unknown Lands plan to attack the Black Heaven sect, some of the forces related to the Black Heaven sect also made their moves. For example, some of the affiliated forces of the Black Heaven sect. In the eyes of many affiliated forces, the Black Heaven sect would not be able to turn the tide this time, so they all expressed their intention to cut ties with the Black Heaven sect. The Black Heaven sect could not be bothered to respond to them. However, there were also some reliable affiliated forces, such as the Horizon Wing sect that Chu Kuangren had rescued in the past. The Snowstorm sect expressed that they would live and die with the Black Heaven sect, and they even sent many people to the Black Heaven sect. Besides that, two of the Black Heaven sect's allies, the School of White Lotus and the Royal Azure Dynasty, also made their moves. Among them, the School of White Lotus's sage personally headed to the Black Heaven sect. However, she did not bring anyone with her. She knew very well that with the Black Heaven sect's current situation, even if she brought the entire School of White Lotus, it would be useless against anyone below the sage level. She might as well head there alone to support them. The Royal Azure Dynasty. In the palace, Empress Linglong sat on the throne. In the Grand Hall, there were many ministers. Your Majesty, the Black Heaven sect is our ally. Now that they are in danger, we cannot just sit by and do nothing. I'm willing to lead an army to support them, one of the generals stepped forward and said. The general was a straightforward person. In his opinion, Chu Kuangren had helped the Royal Azure Dynasty a lot, helping the Royal Azure Dynasty king overcome his ascension and retrieving the 9-headed snakelet pearl. In addition to their original alliance, it was only right for them to help. Foolish. At that moment, an elder scolded. The Black Heaven sect's current situation is no longer something we can interfere with. Not to mention the Unknown Lands, just the 36 oceanic islands alone have a bunch of sages. What can those few troops of yours do? Even if we go, we'll just die in vain. Besides, if the Unknown Lands find out that the Royal Azure Dynasty is helping the Black Heaven sect, do you know how many people will die because of that? With the Unknown Lands methods, they can easily wipe out the Royal Azure Dynasty. The elders saw it clearly. The Black Heaven sect was already in a desperate situation. No one could save them. Are we just going to watch and do nothing? The general said unwillingly. No one in the world can save the Black Heaven sect now. The elders sighed softly. Your Majesty, please make a decision. As long as you say the word, I and 1,000,000 soldiers will follow you to the Black Heaven sect. The general looked at Empress Linglong and said, Your Majesty, do not be reckless. No one can save the Black Heaven sect. Even if the Royal Azure Dynasty sends out all their forces, it will be useless. Your Majesty, please think of the people. The elder immediately knelt on the ground with a thud. Empress Linglong looked at the elder and said, As a ruler, I must put the people first. I understand this. The Royal Azure Dynasty will not send out their troops. Minister Lu, please get up. Your Majesty is wise. The elder breathed a sigh of relief. He had already prepared himself to be executed by Empress Linglong. He knew that Empress Linglong and Chu Kuangren had a close relationship. If he stopped her from helping the Black Heaven sect, he would undoubtedly be disobeying her. However, for the sake of the people, he had no choice but to risk his life to persuade her. Fortunately, Her Majesty was much more rational than he thought. "Your Majesty, what are you doing?" "Your Majesty." At that moment, a commotion broke out in the hall. Then, Empress Linglong took off the crown on her head and placed it on the throne, causing many officials to gasp in shock. "As a ruler, I must put the people first. Therefore, I will not send out my troops, nor will I implicate the people. However, as a wife, it is my duty to go through thick and thin with my husband. From today onwards, I am no longer the ruler of the Royal Azure Dynasty. Everything I do has nothing to do with the Royal Azure Dynasty. No, I'm going to the Black Heaven sect. I'll leave the dynasty in your care." Empress Linglong smiled at the officials. Chapter 407. In the Black Heaven sect. Just as Chu Kuangren was preparing to deal with the encirclement of the unknown lands, he suddenly felt an aura coming from outside the mountain gate. These auras are... Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. His figure disappeared from where he stood. He arrived at the mountain gate and saw that the Horizon Wing Sect Master and the Snow Wind Sect Master had each brought a group of people over. "Sect Leader, we've brought reinforcements." Chu Kuangren glanced behind them. There were quite a few people. However, most of them were below the Exalt realm. So, not to mention the unknown lands, just any one of those sects that had participated in the operation to annihilate the Dark Sky sect would be able to crush them. If they really fought, they would just be sending themselves to death. Despite his complaints, Chu Kuangren was still grateful that the two sect masters had come to help him. It was easy to add flowers to embroidery, but difficult to provide charcoal in snowy weather. When the Black Heaven sect was at its peak, many forces wanted to suck up to them, and Chu Kuangren had seen it countless times. But when it came to a critical moment, not many of them could be relied on. "Thank you, everyone. Please come in." Chu Kuangren led these people into the Black Heaven sect. Along the way, they saw that the Black Heaven sect had become much more deserted. After thinking about it carefully, they understood what was going on. But he didn't say anything. It had always been this way in the human heart to seek benefits and avoid harm, not to mention when it came to life and death. "Please take a look. This is the gravity training field, the place where the Black Heaven sect disciples usually train. And that is the scripture library." Along the way, Chu Kuangren introduced them to everyone. The Horizon Wing Sect Master and the Snowgale Sect Master could not help but feel a little dumbfounded when they saw Chu Kuangren speaking so eloquently. Wasn't this an imminent catastrophe? Why does the sect leader still have such a leisurely mood? "Well, sect leader, what's going on?" The Horizon Wing Sect Master asked curiously. "What do you mean what's going on? Why don't you look nervous or scared?" Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren chuckled. "Afraid? We're not the ones who should be afraid. The ones who should be afraid haven't arrived yet." His eyes flickered with coldness. In that instant, the Horizon Wing Sect Master and the Snowgale Sect Master seemed to see an indescribable spirit from the young man before them. He dared to fight against the world without fear. "Come, you two, let me show you around." "Oh, my Sect Master, why are you still so carefree?" At this moment, Elder Ruyan walked over from not too far away and said helplessly, "What happened?" "Grand Master Gu asked me to ask you, how many revival pills are you going to refine? And have you checked the mountain protecting array?" Elder Ruyan asked helplessly. Right now, the entire Black Heaven sect was operating at a high intensity. Everyone knew that a great war was coming, and they all felt a sense of pressure. However, as the sect leader, Chu Kuangren seemed to be too relaxed. How could he be in the mood to show people around? If not for the fact that he was the sect leader, she would have given him a tight slap. "Make as many good fortune pills as you can, just in case. As for the protective array, don't worry, I've already checked it." "Really?" "Of course. But I just went to the Towering Heaven Palace. Why did I hear from Lil Bing that you've been staying in the palace all this while and have just come out? In such a short amount of time, he had already finished inspecting the formation? You tricked me. The veins on Elder Ruyan's forehead bulged. Cough cough, there's really no problem with the formation, Chu Kuangren said awkwardly. However, he was not lying. He had really checked the operation of the formation, but he did so in the Daoist palace using his spiritual thoughts. After acquiring the conjurer talent, his spiritual thoughts were no longer comparable to ordinary spiritual thoughts. Not only did it have incredibly sensitive senses, but it was also like an extension of his limbs that could be used to manipulate objects. Therefore, even though he was in the Daoist palace, his spiritual thoughts had already scanned the entire Black Heaven sect from top to bottom to ensure that there were no problems. However, Elder Ruyan still did not believe this. The conjurer's inheritance had been cut off a long time ago, so she probably had never even heard of it. How could she possibly know about such a thing? Sect leader, a great war is imminent. You should be more serious. Yes, Elder Ruyan. Chu Kuangren nodded and assumed the posture of a sect leader. He said, Elder Ruyan, Snow Gale sect leader, Rising Sky Wing sect leader, and the others are here to reinforce the Black Heaven sect. Please make the necessary arrangements. The Black Heaven sect is very grateful that the two of you could come to our aid at such a crucial time. Please come with me, Elder Ruyan said. Sect leader, the Shang clan is here. At that moment, an elder walked over and said. Chu Kuangren heard that and looked not far away. He saw Shang Long leading a few people towards him. Greetings, sect leader Chu. Shang clan leader, why are you here? I heard that the Black Heaven sect needs help, so I'm here. Chu Kuangren looked behind him. Other than his wife, Lu Yun, there were only a few honorable realm cultivators. Even the Snowgale sect and the Horizon Wing sect could not compare to this scale. Although he had killed the Shang clan sage, they were still a sage orthodoxy in the past, so their foundation was still too weak. However, Chu Kuangren understood after some thought. He had single-handedly supported Shang Long, and his daughter, Shang Qingxue, was also in the Black Heaven sect. Hence, it was reasonable for him to come and help the Black Heaven sect. However, the same could not be said for the rest of the Shang clan. Chu Kuangren had killed the Shang clan sage, so those people wanted him dead. Why would they come and help him? It was not easy for Shang Long to bring these few people out from that kind of situation. They were probably his trusted aides. Thank you, Shang clan leader. Chu Kuangren smiled. I'll do what I can. Qingxue should be cultivating now. I'll get someone to bring you there later so you can catch up with her. Chu Kuangren called a disciple over and asked him to bring a few Shang clan members to Shang Qingxue. Brother Chu, you look pretty relaxed. A teasing voice came from the void. The immemorial sage of the school of White Lotus slowly walked out. Oh, Brother Immemorial, I hope you've been well. Chu Kuangren smiled. Brother Chu, the war is imminent, but I can see that the Black Heaven sect is in an orderly state. You even look relaxed, as if victory is within your grasp. Could it be that you have a way to deal with it? Ha, Daoist Qianyu, I don't think anyone would believe you. The 36 Oceanic Islands, the Overlord Sage Tribe, the Linghu Clan, the Sky Emperor Palace, the 8 Wind Palace, and the other sage orthodoxies, coupled with a few unknown lands, all of them want me dead. Chu Kuangren laughed. If it were anyone else, they would definitely die. But for some reason, I always feel that you have a plan. Brother Chu, you've created many miracles over the years, Immemorial Sage said. These were indeed her heartfelt words. Immemorial Sage, you've overestimated me. However, I do have some confidence, Chu Kuangren said. Really? Immemorial Sage was shocked. The fact that Chu Kuangren had a plan in the face of such a hopeless situation shocked her. You'll know when the time comes. Chu Kuangren did not say much. Then, a few sages from the Black Heaven sect appeared to welcome Immemorial Sage. Not long after, another sage arrived. It was the sage behind the Royal Azure Dynasty. Gu Linglong also came along. Chapter 408. Your Majesty, why are you here? Chu Kuangren looked at Gu Linglong and smiled. I've already resigned from the royal Azure dynasty's throne. Gu Linglong's first words shocked Chu Kuangren. He then frowned and said, "Did they force you to do so?" Chu Kuangren's tone was cold. Now that he was surrounded by enemies and Gu Linglong was his wife, it was not impossible for the people of the royal Azure dynasty to force Gu Linglong to abdicate the throne. After all, there were many people who were eyeing the throne. "No, I voluntarily abdicated." Gu Linglong smiled and said, "I wanted to accompany you." "I see. Why don't you stay here and stay in the Black Heaven sect from now on? How about being the sect leader's wife? Although it doesn't sound as prestigious as your majesty, it shouldn't be too far off." Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin and thought. "Then is there a future?" Gu Linglong asked. Like the others, she also felt that the Black Heaven sect was doomed this time. Of course. Don't be fooled by the chaos in the outside world, saying that the Black Heaven sect is having a hard time. Let me tell you, I've been eating and sleeping well for the past few days. I can easily deal with a small problem. Chu Kuangren smiled with confidence in his eyes. Gu Linglong could not help but chuckle. If the orthodoxies heard that, I wonder how angry they would be. Chu Kuangren and Gu Linglong chatted happily. He seemed to be enjoying himself here. As for the outside world, it was just as he said. The heavenly golden palace, the bottomless chasm, the sacred palace of death, the craggy ocean tower, the ethereal rapture, and the Acheron manor. A total of 6 unknown lands had gathered their troops and marched towards the Black Heaven sect with their respective orthodoxies. How many people were there? However, the 36 oceanic islands alone had hundreds of thousands of people. Each ferry boat emanated a terrifying aura. Besides them, the Overlord Sage tribe, the Linghu clan, the Sky Emperor Palace, and the 8-Wind Palace had also sent out many cultivators and even their sages. Although it was not as powerful as the 36 oceanic islands, it was still a big deal. On the other hand, the movements in the 6 great unknown places were much quieter. The total number of people from the 6 great unknown lands was less than 1,000. Compared to the army of cultivators that numbered in the millions, it was insignificant. However, everyone knew that these 1,000 people were the true main force. Among these 1,000 people, even the weakest one was a supreme martial artist. Moreover, the leaders of the 6 great unknown lands were also among them. These 6 people were all saint kings who stood at the peak of the saints. An army of 1,000,000 cultivators marched towards the Black Heaven sect. Wherever they went, the sound of drums shook the sky, and the desire to fight soared into the sky. All the cultivators who witnessed this scene had goosebumps. In the Alliance army, one of the immortal boats was particularly special. Compared to the tens of thousands of people on the other immortal boats, this immortal boat was not only the largest and most luxurious, but there were also not many people on it. This was the Heavenly Golden Palace's ferry boat. At this moment, the leaders of the 6 unknown lands were gathered together, seemingly discussing something. After I kill Chu Kuangren, I won't ask for anything else. I've heard that there's a godly phoenix in the Black Heaven sect, and I want that godly phoenix. The craggy ocean tower lord said. The others frowned. Aren't you a little too arrogant? How can you monopolize an existence like the godly phoenix? Master Daoist Yun Tao said in dissatisfaction. Indeed, we can't let you monopolize the godly phoenix. The Acheron Manor Lord said. The craggy ocean tower lord is the best at taming beasts. Besides us, who else among you has the confidence to tame the godly phoenix? The craggy ocean tower lord said calmly. Even if we can't tame the godly phoenix, a divine beast's carcass is still very valuable, the sacred palace of Death's Palace Lord said with a smile. The others' eyes lit up when they heard that. The skin, fur, bones, and blood of a divine beast were all rare treasures. How about this? You can have the divine beast's carcass, but I want the divine beast's soul. How's that? The craggy ocean tower lord said. Since they could not obtain the complete godly phoenix, it was not a bad idea to bring its soul back and refine it into a craggy ocean bestial soul. The others looked at each other when they heard that. Sure. Then the craggy ocean tower will benefit from it. Then the bottomless chasm wants the Empyrean Neptune's halberd. a middle-aged man with a golden scale on his forehead said. He was the great chasm dweller of the bottomless chasm. He was also the first scaled king of the scaled tribe. He had heard about the Empyrean Neptune's halberd from the 36 oceanic islands. He had been longing for this legendary emperor weapon for a very long time. An emperor weapon? The bottomless chasm sure is greedy. That belongs to the scaled tribe anyway. That works too. In that case, the Acheron Manor wants all the cultivation techniques in the Black Heaven sect, including the emperor techniques that Chu Kuangren has, the Acheron Manor Lord said. I want an emperor technique as well. Then I want the opportunities of fortune in the Qian Imperial Palace. We can't let you monopolize it. The sage rulers discussed among themselves. They were already planning how to divide the Black Heaven sect among themselves. It was as if they already had victory in their hands. In fact, that was what they were thinking too. After all, the 6 great unknown lands and an army of 1 million cultivators would be able to take down a mere Black Heaven sect easily. No matter how strong Chu Kuangren was, there was no way he could turn the tide. Everyone, please remember that our main goal for this trip is to kill Chu Kuangren. Everything else doesn't matter, but Chu Kuangren must die. I hope you all can remember this. Sage ruler Zhang Guang said. Chu Kuangren was the biggest threat to them. The Black Heaven sect was only a side mission. Killing Chu Kuangren was their main goal. If Chu Kuangren did not die, all their efforts would be in vain. We understand, Master Daoist Yun Tao said. I've brought the 9 profound heavens fire shroud with me for this mission. Once we enter the Black Heaven sect's territory, I'll activate this item to envelop the entire Black Heaven sect. Not even a sage ruler can escape. The Acheron Manor Lord smiled. The 9 profound heavens fire shroud was a boundary emperor weapon that was specifically used to trap people. It was one of Acheron Manor's trump cards, and they brought it with them to deal with Chu Kuangren. That's good. Sage ruler Zhang Guang nodded. To deal with Chu Kuangren, they had not only brought 1,000 men with them, but they had also prepared many other tricks. Beside the 6 sage rulers, there were many others. They had heard their conversation and could not help but be speechless. 6 sage rulers had put in so much effort just to deal with someone who was below the level of a sage. Who would believe that? Nevertheless, it was the truth. Chu Kuangren, you must die. If you don't, the others will never have a chance to shine. Sage ruler Zhang Guang looked in the direction of the Black Heaven sect with a complicated look in his eyes. Did he hate Chu Kuangren? Of course he did. After all, Chu Kuangren had killed one of his spiritual thought clones. However, that was not a big deal. Compared to hate, he now felt more admiration. That was right. That was admiration. He believed that the other Saint Kings were the same as him, and more or less felt the same way. After all, there were not many people like Chu Kuangren in history. His brilliance had shocked the entire era. They believed that even if they managed to kill Chu Kuangren this time, his name would be repeatedly mentioned in the history books. Chu Kuangren had truly left his name in history. Chapter 409. Black Heaven Sect. The Black Heaven sect was in high gear as all the disciples were preparing for the upcoming battle. Outside, there were countless cultivators watching from the sidelines. They were there to witness the destruction of the Black Heaven sect and the fall of Chu Kuangren, a sky pride of his generation. On a certain mountain peak, 12 people were gathered there. They were all sages, including the Taishu Temple's Daoist, the Thunder Temple's eminent monk, and the Underworld Palace's great demon. At this moment, they were looking in the direction of the Black Heaven sect with a strange look in their eyes. Do you guys think Chu Kuangren can survive this? An old man with a whisk in his hand, who was also a Taishu Temple sage, asked. The Underworld Palace's sage beside him sneered and said, "Survive? You think too highly of the Black Heaven sect. They only have 3 or 4 sages at most, so how can they survive this? How can Chu Kuangren defend against the unknown lands by himself?" The others agreed with him too. The Taishu Temple sage was just making a casual remark, so he did not refute the Underworld Palace's sage's words. He too thought that the Black Heaven sect was doomed this time, so he could not help but shake his head and sigh. It's a shame that Chu Kuangren has been defeated by the current situation. Otherwise, with the speed of his rise, I'm afraid he would be invincible in less than 100 years. That's right. Indeed. Even the Underworld Palace's sage, who had many grudges with Chu Kuangren, had to admit that he was extremely talented. However, he still said, "It's a shame that this person is too arrogant. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fallen to this state. If he wants to blame someone, he can only blame himself for not knowing how to hide his strength." Look, they're here. Suddenly, someone exclaimed and looked into the distance. Many ferry boats were flying over from the distance. Each ferry boat was filled with cultivators. They were densely packed together and there were too many of them to count. An incomparably terrifying aura poured out from these immortal boats, like a tidal wave crashing into the void. The million-strong army of cultivators had arrived, and many of them were sages. The scene before them was so shocking that many people were dazed. Even the sages could not help but gulp in shock. There are so many cultivators. There must be at least 1 million of them. This is too shocking. The spectating cultivators near the Black Heaven sect were left speechless. The scene in front of them was too horrifying. It's over, it's over. This time, the Black Heaven sect is really done for. In the Black Heaven sect, Black Heaven's second forefather, third forefather, Xianxia, Elder Rian, immemorial sage, and the others also saw the dense army of cultivators. All of them wore extremely solemn expressions on their faces. It's far more than I imagined. Most of them are cultivators from the 36 oceanic islands. They have the deepest grudge with the sect leader. I heard that the sect leader killed their snake god. One by one, the ferry boats surrounded the Black Heaven sect from all directions, forming a tight encirclement on the inside and outside. An endless amount of domineering aura enveloped the entire Black Heaven sect. Under this pressure, the disciples couldn't help but turn pale. Even the Dao children couldn't help but sweat on their foreheads. Just the pressure alone was unbearable for them. How were they supposed to fight? Even if they were prepared to die, they could not help but feel hopeless and helpless. The difference in strength was just too great. Now, the Black Heaven sect had less than 10,000 disciples, while the enemy had a 1 million-strong army with many sages. On the other hand, excluding Chu Kuangren, the Black Heaven sect only had immemorial sage, Black Heaven's second forefather, third forefather, Fairfrost sage, and one from the Royal Azure dynasty. There was no way they could fight. A terrifying domineering aura emanated from the cultivator army. Black Heaven's second forefather, third forefather, and the other sages also channeled their domineering auras to help the crowd resist the pressure, but it seemed like it was not enough. The number of sages on the enemy's side far exceeded theirs. A few people walked out from one of the ferry boats. Each of them had a powerful sage Daoist rhyme flowing around them. Besides the unknown lands, they were the strongest sages from the other orthodoxies who came to participate in the war. Overlord Sage Tribe's forefather, Sky Emperor Sage Li, 8 Wind Palace's celestial sage, and those two are the Outer Seas solar and lunar sages. They're the 2 strongest sages in the Outer Seas. These people aren't any weaker than great saints, Yichen said with a smile. They've all gathered together to deal with Chu Kuangren. Many people were amazed when they saw these sages. Black Heaven's second forefather looked at the sages with a solemn expression. One should know that any one of these people would be enough to deal with the Black Heaven sect, let alone all of them gathered together. Sages of the Black Heaven sect, surrender now and let Chu Kuangren die. Perhaps we can spare your lives. A sage in a black robe said calmly. This person was the Overlord Sage Tribe's Grey Lord Sage. Heh, I can't believe the Overlord Sage Tribe's strongest cultivator would one day be reduced to a dog. What a joke. Black Heaven's second forefather said. However, Grey Lord Sage's expression did not change. Chu Kuangren has committed many evil deeds. He deserves this. Sages of the Black Heaven sect, think about it carefully. If you let Chu Kuangren die, perhaps you can live. Do you think that's possible? Black Heaven's second forefather sneered. Looks like there's nothing left to talk about. Grey Lord Sage said. He took a step forward and unleashed a terrifying sage aura. The sages behind him also unleashed their auras. In an instant, the domineering aura above the Black Heaven sect intensified. The endless domineering aura covered everyone like a giant net. Even the honorable supremes could not help but turn pale. Many disciples trembled as if they were on the verge of kneeling. The Black Heaven sect must perish. Grey Lord Sage said indifferently. Bullsh *T. A cold roar was heard. A terrifying sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted from the longevity hall and turned into a solid purple sword shadow that shot up into the sky. The sharp and majestic domineering aura swept across and instantly tore the domineering aura net that was formed by the million-strong cultivator army into pieces. The disciples were relieved. Meanwhile, the million-strong cultivators looked at the longevity hall solemnly. The doors of the hall opened, and a white-robed figure slowly stepped out. He wore a white robe, a jade crown, and a gorgeous ancient sword. It was Chu Kuangren who walked out of the hall. Behind him, there were also two equally beautiful women. One was as pure and holy as a goddess, while the other was as elegant and beautiful as an empress. These two women were Lan Yu and Gu Linglong. They followed behind Chu Kuangren, fearlessly facing the million-strong cultivator army. With every step Chu Kuangren took, the sword-based Daoist rhyme on his body intensified. By the time he arrived in front of the crowd, his domineering aura was so strong that it could overpower the million-strong cultivator army. Like an endless gale, it danced wantonly in the void. Insolent and domineering. Perish the Black Heaven sect? Who gave you the guts to spout such nonsense? Is it because of the bunch of rotten fish and shrimps behind you? Chu Kuangren looked around coldly. His aura alone suppressed the entire battlefield. Even the million-strong cultivator army could not suppress him. Chapter 410. Many people could not imagine what it would be like to single-handedly suppress a million-strong army. But today, many cultivators witnessed this scene. In front of the million-strong army, a white-robed man stood proudly with an ancient sword hanging from his waist and beautiful women by his side. Endless sword-based Daoist rhymes emanated from his body and filled every corner of the world. It was as if that white-robed man was the absolute center of the world. The million-strong army was speechless. There was a moment of silence as they looked at Chu Kuangren solemnly. Even if he was surrounded by his comrades, even if he was surrounded by enemies just like himself, even so, they did not feel safe. Because the person in front of them was Chu Kuangren. Even in the face of death, you're still as arrogant as ever. Chu Kuangren, I can't help but admire you for that. At that moment, Grey Lord Sage's voice rang out. He stared coldly at Chu Kuangren with a hint of respect in his eyes, but more than that, it was filled with an unparalleled killing intent. However, I still stand by my words. Today, the Black Heaven sect must be destroyed. As for you, the sky pride of this generation, Chu Kuangren, you must die. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly and said, Then I'll say the same thing. Do you think you can do it with just the likes of you? Do you think you're worthy? As soon as he said that, Chu Kuangren focused his sword fingers. A surge of Daoist rhymes erupted as the three great transformations of the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart erupted at the same time. In the distance, the Black Heaven sword mountain trembled as if it was summoned. One by one, the long swords rose into the air and surrounded the area. Terrifying sword chi instantly erupted and filled the area. Some cultivators who could not dodge in time were killed on the spot by this sword formation. In an instant, the area within a 10,000-mile radius of the Black Heaven sect was shrouded by an extremely powerful sword chi, making it difficult for anyone to get close. This is the Black Heaven sect's Black Heaven sword formation. Grey Lord Sage's expression froze. This is a sage-grade formation. Coupled with Chu Kuangren's exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, its power will multiply under his control. Heavenly Emperor sagely said. They looked at the giant ferry boat behind them. The leaders of this operation, the 6 sage rulers, were there. If you can't even deal with this sword formation, what use do we have for you? An indifferent voice came from the ferry boat. The sages looked at each other. Grey Lord Sage gritted his teeth. Prepare to break the array. If they wanted to take the opportunity to attach themselves to the unknown lands, they had to show their value. Otherwise, how could they cozy up to them? Meanwhile, on the ferry boat, a few sage rulers looked indifferent. Their gazes seemed to penetrate thousands of miles as they stared at Chu Kuangren, who was in front of the Black Heaven Sect's longevity hall. Chu Kuangren seemed to have noticed it too. He looked towards the direction of the sage rulers in the army and smiled. His lips moved slightly as if he was trying to say something. Sage ruler Zhang Guang and the others could read his lips. Bring it on. The Saint Kings raised their eyebrows. Chu Kuangren, how dare you provoke us? I want to see how he's going to escape this calamity. T panic. Let the Overlord Sage Tribe and the 36 Oceanic Islands scout out Chu Kuangren first, Sage ruler Zhang Guang said. All right. The Saint Kings nodded. To them, this army of 1,000,000 cultivators was just SOSO. The only value it had was that it was grand and spectacular. It looked more majestic too. After all, they were here to destroy the Black Heaven Sect for the whole world to see. Of course, they could not look too shabby. At the same time, these people were used as cannon fodder to test how many trump cards Chu Kuangren had up his sleeves. I'll set up the 9 profound heavens fire barrier first. The Acheron Manor Lord said. All right. Inside the Black Heaven Sect, Chu Kuangren stood in front of the Longevity Hall and activated the Black Heaven Sect /S mountain guarding formation. He curled his lips as he watched Grey Lord Sage and the others break the array. If these people want to break the array, they I'll have to put in a lot of effort. Brother Chu, the Black Heaven Sword formation may be strong, but I am afraid it won't be a problem for the unknown lands, Immemorial Sage said worriedly. I don't plan to rely on this array to protect the Black Heaven Sect. Chu Kuangren took out a celestial chalcedony stone tablet. This is what I am relying on. Everyone looked at the stone tablet in confusion. Only Elder Rian and the others had a thoughtful look on their faces. At that moment, a burst of red light suddenly appeared in the sky, and a huge fiery red barrier appeared out of thin air, enveloping the entire Black Heaven Sect. Chu Kuangren squinted his eyes at that. Oh, it seems like they afraid that we I'll escape, so they he trapped us first. He was not surprised. This time, the 6 sage rulers had joined forces to kill him. Naturally, they would have a foolproof plan, so they would not let him leave so easily. However, he had never thought of leaving anyway. Let see who more skillful then, Chu Kuangren said. Then, he slammed his palm on the stone tablet beside him. The stone tablet shone brightly, and a wave of strange fluctuations spread out from the Longevity Hall to the entire Black Heaven Sect. Suddenly, a large amount of clouds and mist appeared all over the Black Heaven Sect. These clouds and mist shrouded the entire Black Heaven Sect, so no one could see them. The sudden change was shocking. Where did these clouds and mist come from? These clouds and mist are strange. They can even block my spiritual thoughts. Does the Black Heaven Sword formation have such an effect? Strange. Everyone, be careful. The sages looked at each other. The 6 sages could not help but frown. Sage ruler Zhang Guang said, These clouds and mist seem to be a mysterious formation, but I can tell what grade it is. Strange. Are they trying to escape with the help of these clouds and mist? I already cast the 9 profound heavens fire barrier. They won be able to escape even if they re-powerful, the Acheron Manor Lord said confidently. Then let stick to the original plan. Let the Overlord Sage Tribe and the 36 Oceanic Islands go scout ahead, Sage ruler Zhang Guang said. Meanwhile, Grey Lord Sage and the others were trying to break the formation as well. Against the Black Heaven Sword formation, they did not have many tricks up their sleeves. Even the sages' attacks could not break the formation. Everyone, if we don break the formation and let the Heavenly Golden Palace see our value, then we have come here for nothing. Grey Lord Sage said. Then he took out a bottle of medicinal pills and swallowed them. Then the energy on his body skyrocketed. We heard that the Overlord Sage tribe has a secret medicine that can greatly increase the Overlord physique /s strength for a short period of time. Seems like it /s true. Heavenly Emperor Sage Li was amazed. Then, a golden seal appeared in his palm. A majestic aura emanated from it. It was a sage ruler weapon. This formation must be broken. The solar and lunar sages from the outer seas said in a low voice. The Daoist rhymes on their bodies flowed and converged in the void, forming an incredibly powerful solar and lunar energy. That /s right. Not only do we have to break the formation, but we have to destroy the Black Heaven sect as well. Celestial Sage of 8 Wind Palace raised his hand and gathered the spiritual chi of the heavens and earth. A terrifying mass of spiritual chi formed and smashed towards the sword formation. The others also activated their ultimate skills and attacked the sword formation. Brilliant heaven-shaking fist. Solar and lunar double destruction. Heavenly Emperor's seal. Several terrifying energies crashed into the sword formation at the same time. The terrifying energy shook the entire sword formation and even the entire Black Heaven sect. Chapter 411. Several bursts of energy erupted at the same time. The peerless impact caused the entire profound heaven sword formation to tremble violently. Sword chi, the power of the sun and moon, and the power of the Saint Ruler armaments all erupted together, forming a terrifying shockwave that spread in all directions. The first to bear the brunt of the attack were the Grey Lord Sage, the Sun and Moon Sages, and the other sages. They were instantly blasted away by the astonishing energy. Even though they were all great sages, they were still severely injured. Puff, Grey Lord Sage spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying thousands of feet away. The Sun and Moon Sages were smashed into the mountain. Although Heavenly King Li Xing did not suffer much damage, cracks had already appeared on the Saint King weapon that was used to attack the sword formation. The rest of the sages were more or less injured. Even the sages who did not directly participate in the attack on the sword formation were the same. Success! A saint of the Linghu clan exclaimed. The sword formation, which had been impacted by the trump cards of several great sages, was finally broken. The swords scattered all over the sky and fell into the clouds and mist. The sword chi surrounding the Black Heaven sect was broken. Great! The so-called mysterious heaven sword formation is only SOSO. Once the sword formation is broken, I want to see how they will defend against our attack. The sages of the allied forces said excitedly. But then, they could not help but frown. Although the Black Heaven sword formation had been broken, the thick fog surrounding the Black Heaven sect was not affected at all. The Black Heaven sect was hidden in the clouds and could not be seen at all. There wasn't even the slightest movement. He did not see anyone from the Black Heaven sect launch any attacks either. King. At this moment, the sound of a zither reverberated through the clouds. The expressions of the sages changed drastically. That was because one of Chu Kuangren's most well-known techniques was his guqin music. Even the Heaven Chord sect, which specialized in musical attacks, felt inferior to him. Everyone, be careful of the zither sound. I'm prepared. One of the saints from the 36 islands took out a giant black stone. The surface of the stone was as smooth as a mirror and Daoist rhymes surrounded it. This is a sound-absorbing stone. I've specially prepared it for Chu Kuangren's guqin music. It can absorb the energy of the sound waves and greatly reduce the lethality of Chu Kuangren's guqin music, the sage said excitedly. Well done. Well done. Let's see what Chu Kuangren can do. The sages and the million-strong army heaved a sigh of relief. Chu Kuangren's guqin attack was no joke. Even a sage could easily kill anyone below the Great Sage realm. If the other party were to go all out, even if this million-strong army was made up of elite soldiers, they would still lose at least a third of them. The sound of the zither reverberated in the clouds. The melody was majestic and grand, like the high mountains and flowing water, captivating people. However, everyone gradually realized that something was wrong. That was because the sound of the zither had no destructive power at all. Even the sound-absorbing stone didn't work. The power of the guqin music wasn't even enough to stimulate the sound-absorbing stone. Other than its pleasantness, this was the most ordinary sound of the zither. What happened? What the hell is Chu Kuangren up to? Why doesn't this zither sound have any killing power? Everyone was confused. The music suddenly stopped. Everyone, the song has ended. Aren't all of you going in? Chu Kuangren's voice could be heard from within the mist. He seemed to be smiling. Seeing that, the army of 1,000,000 cultivators dared not move at all. Seeing that, the faces of Grey Lord Sage, Twin Sages Sun and Moon and the others turned extremely ugly to behold. Chu Kuangren, stop trying to fool me. That's right. Come out and fight us one-on-one if you have the guts. Heh, Chu Kuangren's chuckle could be heard from within the mist. After that, there was no more movement. Everyone, let's send some people in to investigate. Grey Lord Sage pondered for a while and said. Then he selected 10,000 people from the coalition army and let a sage lead the team in to investigate. These 10,000 fully armed people entered the mist and used their communication compass to keep in touch with everyone else. However, a scream was heard from the communication compass. Don't come over. I can't move. Waves of screams could be heard from the communication compass. Grey Lord Sage's expression changed. What's going on? Report the situation. There's an ambush. The last sound was heard from the communication compass. Then, everything returned to silence. No matter how Grey Lord Sage called out, it was useless. Within a few breaths after the first scream, the 10,000 cultivators, including the sage, were all annihilated. *eminent, what's hiding in this mist? Grey Lord Sage and the others cursed. They looked at the mist in fear. The seemingly harmless mist seemed to have transformed into a terrifying beast in their eyes. The Black Heaven Sword formation is not Chu Kuangren's trump card. I'm afraid this mist is his trump card. *eminent, what is this? Everyone felt a little helpless. They could still see the sword formation from before. Right now, no one knew anything about this fog. This sort of unknown existence was more intimidating than anything else. Some people guessed that this mist was some kind of formation. They even looked for formation masters, but it was useless. The astonishing cloud of seas formation was an emperor-grade formation. Such a formation was too rare, and the current firmament stars formation masters could not see through it without the formation map, let alone decipher it. Send more people in. Grey Lord Sage gritted his teeth and said. He sent another 30,000 people and 3 sages to keep in touch. They even used a vision-transmitting stone to transmit the situation inside the mist so that everyone could observe at the same time. A light screen appeared in front of the army. The light screen showed the situation inside the mist. The 3 sages led 30,000 soldiers into the mist. At first, it was just a normal mountainous terrain without any special circumstances. Even so, no one dared to enter recklessly. However, when they came to an empty valley, all the cultivators, including the sages, stopped in their tracks with a horrified look on their faces. We can't move. We can't move? What's going on? Tens of thousands of cultivators stood in the valley, unable to move. Only the sages could barely move. At that moment, a loud rumble came from the end of the valley. A gigantic boulder rolled down from the end. That boulder was flowing with Daoist rhymes. It was not a physical object, but a condensed form of spiritual qi that emanated a terrifying fluctuation. It's coming. We can't move. Tens of thousands of cultivators screamed in fear. The 3 sages were powerful enough to barely break free from the strange energy in the valley and evade the gigantic boulder. However, the other cultivators were not as lucky. Cries of agony could be heard everywhere the boulder passed. One by one, the cultivators were crushed into meat paste. In a few breaths' time, 30,000 cultivators were annihilated. The remaining 3 sages looked at this scene in horror. They gulped and looked at each other, wanting to leave this place as soon as possible. However, just as they were about to leave, sword chi suddenly shot out from the mist around them, trapping them in place. A terrifying sword shadow descended from the sky. The violent Daoist rhymes sealed the space where the three sages were, killing them on the spot. Chapter 4:12. The clouds changed, and the sudden sword chi sealed off the sage's path of retreat. The violent sword chi then descended from the sky. Even the might of a sage could not withstand such a force. In an instant, the sword chi sliced him into pieces. The scene before them shocked the army outside. All the cultivators gulped with fear in their eyes. It was too dangerous inside the clouds. Even a sage could die on the spot if he was not careful. Even the 10 great forbidden areas were not as dangerous as this. What's going on with this sea of clouds? Why is it so dangerous? Sages are gone just like that. This is too terrifying. How did the Black Heaven sect come up with this? This is too scary. Not only the million-strong cultivator army, but the spectating cultivators outside the Black Heaven sect were also shocked. They had never heard of a formation like this. How did the Black Heaven sect come up with this? Don't they only have the Black Heaven sword formation? How did they get something like this? It must be Chu Kuangren's doing. That's right. Other than him, I can't think of anyone else who could do something like this. But how did he do it? The spectating cultivators were shocked. Initially, they thought that the operation to annihilate the Black Heaven sect would end like a hot knife through butter. However, they did not expect the Black Heaven sect to come up with such a terrifying formation. Not only did the Black Heaven sect remain unscathed, but their own side had already lost their sages and tens of thousands of cultivators. D****. What's going on with the Black Heaven sect? How did they come up with a formation like this? Why can't those tens of thousands of cultivators move? Also, where did the sword chi come from? How much of this formation is this, or is this just the tip of the iceberg? Grey Lord Sage was furious, and his face was extremely gloomy. He felt a deep sense of helplessness in the face of this formation. Sage Ruler, I'm afraid we can't break this formation with our current strength. Please help us. Grey Lord Sage said to the ferry boat behind him. Useless. Sage Ruler Zhang Guang's cold voice came from the ferry boat. Purple Void, go in and take a look at this formation yourself. Use the shift talisman to leave if you're in danger, Sage Ruler Zhang Guang said. Yes. A person immediately flew out of the ferry boat. This person was none other than the Heavenly Golden Palace's Purple Void Sage, who was second only to the Sage Ruler and had the combat strength of a 7th-step Great Sage. He was extremely powerful. Look, the unknown lands have sent someone over. I wonder if he can break the formation. Just one person? It's going to be really dangerous. Tiske, actually, the unknown lands don't care whether this person can break the formation or not. They just want to find out the truth of the formation first. I see. The Purple Void Sage plunged headfirst into the clouds. Initially, he wanted to fly directly to the Longevity Hall, but the moment he entered the formation, he felt a terrifying pressure coming from above. In the sea of clouds, there was a dragon-like existence that was more than 10,000 feet long, formed from clouds and mist, staring at him. That terrifying pressure made even a great saint like him shudder. When the cultivators outside the array saw the dragon, they all sucked in a breath of cold air and felt goosebumps all over their bodies. There was a dragon hidden in the sea of clouds. What kind of array is this? The few Saint Kings in the ferry boat could not help but stand up. A dragon had appeared in the sea of clouds. The Purple Void Sage was so scared that his face turned pale. He did not dare to stay in midair any longer and quickly returned to the ground. He only breathed a sigh of relief when he could no longer see the dragon. He said with lingering fear, "That dragon is too terrifying. I even suspect that I'll die if it pokes me with its finger." He took out his communication compass and reported the situation. Sect leader, there's a dragon in the sky above this formation. Although it's not a physical entity and might be part of the formation, I can clearly sense that the dragon is extremely terrifying. It's best not to fight it head-on. The sky isn't suitable. I'll try to travel by land. After saying that, the Purple Void Sage continued to travel through the formation. The astonishing cloud of seas formation was extremely strange. The clouds and mist had the ability to block spiritual thoughts, so the purple void sage could not sense anything more than 5 kilometers in front of him. Therefore, he did not dare to rush in recklessly, so he carefully explored. He arrived at the valley where tens of thousands of cultivators had died. Suddenly, he felt that his movement had become extremely difficult. The people outside the clouds also noticed that something was wrong. No way, even great sages have fallen for it? What's wrong, Purple Void? Sage ruler Zhang Guang asked with a frown. There's a force in this valley that's restricting my movements. This force seems to be coming from underground. It's Earth Qi. It's the Earth Qi that's binding my feet, making it hard for me to move. While he was reporting, a rolling boulder came from afar. The Purple Void sage scoffed. He was not afraid at all. A mysterious Daoist rhyme manifested from his palms and slammed toward the rolling boulder. The two forces collided with each other. The rolling boulder shattered. The Purple Void sage was unscathed. Following that, a large amount of sword qi appeared around him, trapping him in place. Above his head, a huge sword shadow appeared out of thin air. Come at me. The Purple Void sage scoffed. Daoist rhyme circulated around his body as he threw a punch upward. The fist force and the sword shadow intertwined and shattered, shaking the entire valley. Amidst the billowing dust, the Purple Void sage stood proudly. Nice. As expected of a 7th-step great sage. His strength is indeed unfathomable. The coalition army cheered. Even Grey Lord Sage and the Solar and Lunar Sages were ashamed of their inferiority. We're all great sages, but the difference between a 7th-step great sage and us, who have just become great sages not too long ago, is just too great. Indeed. Meanwhile, inside the formation, Purple Void Sage had just blocked the sword shadow and then activated his spiritual energy to shatter the sword qi and earth qi that surrounded him. He continued to venture deeper into the formation. Along the way, everyone saw more of the mysteries of this formation. As he went deeper, the attacks that Purple Void Sage encountered increased. There were storms, sword qi, flames, water currents, and many more. They came in an endless stream and were impossible to guard against. No one knew what kind of danger they would face in the next moment. Whirlpools that could devour people suddenly appeared on the calm surface of the water, and the air of the forest that was originally filled with the fragrance of flowers and birds was suddenly filled with poison. Everyone's hearts trembled with fear and were incomparably horrified. The clouds are treacherous and impossible to guard against. What kind of formation is this? Even the most powerful saint-level formation isn't this terrifying. Grey Lord Sage said with a trembling voice. Even if he went in, he would most likely die without a doubt. He believed that if he had led the million-strong army to attack earlier, more than half of them would have perished in this formation. Inside the formation, Purple Void Sage could vaguely see the mountain entrance of the Black Heaven sect. He had encountered countless dangers along the way, but he managed to overcome them with his powerful strength and various trump cards. Even so, he was already covered in wounds. Chu Kuangren is in the Black Heaven sect. You're no match for him. Purple Void, come back, Sage ruler Zhang Guang said. The reason he allowed Purple Void Sage to enter the formation was to investigate the structure of this formation. Now he had achieved his goal. All right. Purple Void Sage nodded and took out a shift talisman to leave. However, when he crushed the talisman, his expression changed drastically. Chapter 413. The Shift Talisman was an ultimate treasure for escaping. It allowed one to teleport thousands or even hundreds of thousands of miles in the blink of an eye using spatial energy. The most valuable of these talismans was known as the Greater Shift Talisman. Although the Shift Talisman in Purple Void Sage's hand was not as powerful as the Greater Shift Talisman, it could still teleport him thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye. Even 10 sage rulers would not be able to stop him. However, when he tried to use the Shift Talisman, he realized that the spatial energy contained within the Shift Talisman could only cause slight ripples in the void. It was unable to teleport him out of the formation. It was as if the surrounding space had been sealed. What's going on? Why is the shift talisman not working? The space here has been sealed by some sort of energy. Damn it, it's this formation. This formation can even seal space. Purple Void Sage was horrified. The main reason he dared to enter the astonishing cloud of seas formation was because of the shift talisman. It could teleport him away at the most crucial moment. However, the shift talisman had failed. Purple Void, come back. Sage ruler Zhang Guang hurriedly called out after noticing the abnormality. Purple Void did not dare to be careless. Since the shift talisman could not be used, he would return the way he came. He turned around to leave. However, the moment he turned around, an indescribable pressure enveloped him. At that moment, his body and soul seemed to have fallen into an abyss of fear, and he could not help but tremble uncontrollably. A ferocious dragon head suddenly appeared in front of him. It was the dragon in the sea of clouds. At this moment, the human-sized head was right in front of Zisu, less than 10 feet away from him, staring at him without blinking. Outside the formation, countless cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air in fear. The image transmitted by the vision-transmitting stone happened to show the ferocious dragon head, which occupied the entire screen. The pair of cold, emotionless, and domineering eyes were not only staring at Purple Void Sage, but also at the million-strong army of cultivators, as well as everyone who was watching the battle. It sent chills down their spines. Even though they were not facing it themselves, they could feel its ferocious aura just by looking at the image on the vision-transmitting stone. However, what they felt was far less than a millionth of what Purple Void Sage was feeling. All they could see was an image, but Purple Void Sage was standing right in front of this terrifying cloud dragon. Damn it, I can't just sit here and wait for death. After all, the Purple Void Sage was a peak great sage. His Daoist heart was extremely resilient, and he soon broke free from his fear. The spiritual power in his body erupted and gathered in his 5 fingers. An incomparably surging Daoist rhyme erupted in an instant. Heavenly Wind Saint Fist. The moment he punched out, the surrounding wind and clouds surged. This was an extremely powerful pseudo-emperor technique. Purple Illusionary Sage had been studying this pseudo-emperor technique for many years and had reached an extremely profound level. A storm swirled around his fist as if it could destroy everything. Even a Sage King would not be able to easily block this punch. But at this moment, Yunlong's eyes widened in anger and he suddenly roared. Roar! An incomparably loud and clear dragon roar resounded throughout the world. The sound waves, which were almost tangible, were mixed with the power of the astonishing cloud of seas formation. The mountains trembled, and even the heavens and earth trembled. The Purple Void Sage, who was at the forefront, bore the brunt of the attack. The Daoist rhyme and spiritual power on his fist instantly dissipated. As the roar rang out, Purple Void Sage's attack crumbled. His eardrums burst and blood gushed out. His body cracked, and bloody wounds appeared all over his body. He looked like a porcelain vase that could shatter at any moment. His entire body was sent flying and he fell to the ground in an extremely pathetic manner. Arg, my ears, my eyes. Purple Void Sage lay on the ground, rolling around in agony. Boundless fear shrouded him, and he almost lost his mind. Then, Yunlong slowly extended his dragon claw. He tapped it lightly. Purple Void Sage's body exploded on the spot. A black stone spun a few times on the ground. It was the vision-transmitting stone that was specially used to transmit images. Outside the formation, there was dead silence. Through the screen, they saw Yunlong's vigorous figure soaring into the sky and diving into the sea of clouds. At the same time, they were shocked by the terrifying power of his opponent. With a single roar, a 7-step great sage was crippled. What kind of terrifying power was that? Is this the true strength of this formation? It's too terrifying. This formation is not something that can be broken by humans. The million-strong army was scared out of their wits by Yunlong's roar. Even the sages at the scene could not help but shudder. In front of that Yunlong, their strength was nothing. Purple Void. On the ferry boat, Sage ruler Zhongguang was so furious that his face turned green. Purple Void was not only an elder of the Heavenly Golden Palace, but he had also assisted him for many years and had a deep friendship with him. Now that Purple Void had died in the formation set up by the Black Heaven sect, Sage ruler Zhongguang's hatred towards the Black Heaven sect and Chu Kuangren grew even more. Chu Kuangren, I'll kill you. Sage ruler Zhongguang gritted his teeth and said, that Yun Long's combat strength is comparable to a top-notch sage ruler. I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with him using normal techniques. Brother Zhongguang, please calm down. Master Daoist Yun Tao said. Of course I know that. Sage ruler Zhongguang took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Look, someone's coming out. Someone in the crowd exclaimed. Then, two people walked out from outside the Black Heaven sect's mountain entrance. It was Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu. Lan Yu picked up the vision-transmitting stone from the ground and aimed it at Chu Kuangren. A flawless face instantly filled half of the screen. Among the spectators, there were many female cultivators. When they saw that face on the screen, their hearts could not help but tremble. It was too beautiful. That face was definitely the creator's most perfect creation. How could there be such a good-looking person in this world? At the thought that Chu Kuangren might fall in this great battle, many female cultivators could not help but grieve and cry out in anguish. Lan Yu, you're holding it too close. At that moment, Chu Kuangren spoke on the screen. Lan Yu took 2 steps back. Ahem, everyone, I hope you've been well. Chu Kuangren coughed twice and smiled at the million-strong army. After the test just now, I'm sure everyone here has a general understanding of my Black Heaven sect's formation. To be honest, this is my first time using this formation in battle, so I'm not very familiar with it yet. I apologize for my poor performance. Chu Kuangren's words echoed in the ears of countless cultivators. Seeing how casual and relaxed he looked, the crowd gritted their teeth in anger. The crowd had come with great momentum to destroy the Black Heaven sect. Yet now, they were blocked outside by a formation. Even the Black Heaven sect's mountain entrance was inside, and they were still losing their soldiers. It was a very frustrating feeling. To be honest, I don't like fighting and killing, but you guys just had to force my hand. Why did you have to do this? How about this? Let's sit down and talk. You guys can compensate my Black Heaven sect with tens of billions of soul stones and a few emperor weapons. I'm a very kind person, so I can forgive you. Chu Kuangren continued. Sage Zhongguang and the others were so angry that their bodies trembled. This was too infuriating. Tens of billions of soul stones? Emperor weapons? Who was the one fighting who now? Look carefully, we're the ones who surrounded the Black Heaven sect, not the other way around. Even if we're going to ask for something, we should be the ones asking for it. How arrogant! How arrogant! The craggy ocean tower lord was so angry that his chest heaved and his face turned red. Chapter 4:14. How arrogant! How arrogant! The craggy ocean tower lord was so angry that his face turned red and his chest heaved. The other sage rulers did not look any better either. The million-strong army was humiliated as well. Chu Kuangren, don't you dare be so arrogant. Do you think you can rest easy with this formation? You must be dreaming. We fully understood this formation of yours. The day we break it will be the day your Black Heaven sect falls and your death. Grey Lord Sage was the first to lose his patience and roared. From afar, Chu Kuangren seemed to have heard his words. Oh my, I think someone's making a ruckus. It doesn't matter. If you guys insist on dying, I can't stop you. However, I'll say it again. You bunch of rotten fish and shrimps want to destroy my Black Heaven sect? In your dreams. Come, let's see who's going to be the one to destroy who. Chu Kuangren was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. I almost forgot, Brother Yun Tao. Thank you for sponsoring so many Supreme Tier Chalcedonies. They're quite useful. Then the light screen shattered. It was obvious that the vision-transmitting stone had been destroyed. His last words left everyone dumbfounded. Thank Master Daoist Yun Tao? What did he mean? I think Master Daoist Yun Tao is the Ethereal Raptures sect leader. Why would Chu Kuangren thank him? In the ferry boat, the other 5 sage kings looked at Daoist Yun Tao with unfriendly gazes. Brother Yun Tao, what does Chu Kuangren mean? Do you have some kind of deal with him? Ethereal raptures chalcedonies are supreme-tier formation materials. Could it be that Chu Kuangren's formation is made of chalcedonies? The sage rulers, especially sage ruler Zhang Guang, glared at Chu Kuangren as if they were about to devour him. Master Daoist Yun Tao snorted. What kind of deal could I have with Chu Kuangren? He came to Ethereal Rapture to ask for chalcedonies back then. He then told them about Chu Kuangren's exchange of chalcedonies. Every time he thought about it, his heart ached so much that it felt like it was bleeding. Even if Ethereal Rapture were to mine for tens of thousands of years, they might not be able to accumulate so many celestial essence crystals and peerless chalcedony. Chu Kuangren had taken it away just like that. He had used a mere 1 billion spirit stones, which was almost equivalent to giving it away for free. Now that he thought about how the formation that was blocking them could very well have been set up using the jade essence that the other party had obtained from the Ethereal Rapture, Daoist Yun Tao felt the urge to vomit blood. He was so angry that his vision turned black. That better be the case. Seeing that Daoist Yun Tao did not seem to be lying, Sage King Zhang Guang snorted coldly and did not say anything else. It has always been so. Master Daoist Yun Tao was also very dissatisfied with the crowd's doubts. He hated Chu Kuangren so much that he gritted his teeth. Why would he still help him? This group of idiots. Do they only have brains and don't use them? Let everyone enter the formation. Sage King Zhangguang said. Everyone was slightly taken aback by his words. Isn't this a little risky? Zisu has already figured out the structure of this formation for us. We just need to pay more attention. As for taking the risk, they're just a bunch of ants. They're just cannon fodder. What's there to worry about? Sage King Zhangguang said coldly. The Saint Kings thought for a while and nodded. With that, the Sage King's order was passed down. When Grey Lord Sage, Solar and Lunar Sages, and Celestial Sage received the order, their expressions turned gloomy. Sage rulers, are they planning to use us as cannon fodder? D***. These are all people from our orthodoxy. Besides Purple Void Sage, none of their people are dead. Solar and Lunar Sages said unhappily. If I knew this was going to happen, I wouldn't have come. Celestial Sage gritted his teeth, feeling a little regretful. Compared to the Sky Emperor Palace, Overlord Sage Tribe, and the 36 oceanic islands who had a grudge against Chu Kuangren, the 8-Wind Palace did not hold any grudges against Chu Kuangren other than losing some soul stones to him. He did not have to interfere in this matter. However, in order to build a good relationship with the unknown lands, he still came. Initially, he thought that the 8-Wind Palace would not suffer any casualties after destroying the Black Heaven sect. He did not expect things to turn out this way. Now that things have come to this, there's no turning back. Grey Lord Sage said in a deep voice. Ever since they joined this operation, they could not get out of it. They come and go as they please? Did they really think the unknown lands would let them do as they please? Grey Lord Sage believed that if they said they wanted to leave now, the Sage rulers would probably give them a slap each. There's no turning back now. Let's continue forward, Grey Lord Sage said. The other sages gritted their teeth and continued forward. One by one, the ferry boats entered the astonishing cloud of seas formation. The cultivators who were watching from the outside raised their heads and tried to use their spiritual thoughts to peek inside. However, it was useless. Even so, no one wanted to leave. This battle was too exciting, and everyone wanted to witness the final outcome. Inside the astonishing cloud of seas formation, the ferry boats entered. Since Purple Void Sage had helped them scout the way earlier, they had basically understood the structure of the astonishing cloud of seas formation. As long as they were careful, they would be able to avoid it. At least, that was what they thought. You guys continue to advance towards the Black Heaven sect. Leave the cloud dragon in the sky to us, Sage Zhangguang said to Grey Lord Sage. Grey Lord Sage breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that. Although the Sage rulers treated them as cannon fodder, It did not seem like they would simply let them die. After giving it some thought, Grey Lord Sage could guess what was going on. After all, they could not deal with the Cloud Dragon. Going up there would only be suicide, and their deaths would be worthless. Instead of letting them deal with the Cloud Dragon, why not leave them alive to deal with Chu Kuangren and see if Chu Kuangren had any other trump cards? At the end of the day, they were still cannon fodder. They would only be used as cannon fodder to deal with others. Everyone be careful. This formation may be powerful, but as long as we carefully avoid the dangerous spots, we can. Before Grey Lord Sage could finish his sentence, fiery meteors suddenly fell from the sky towards the ferry boats. Some ferry boats could not activate their defensive formations in time, so they were smashed to the ground and burned to ashes one by one. The sudden change caused everyone to turn pale with fright. How could this be? D***, there was no formation here when Purple Void Sage entered. How did this happen? Don't panic. Activate the formation. Inside the Longevity Hall, there was a celestial chalcedony tablet in front of Chu Kuangren. On it, there were light spots that were constantly changing, and each light spot represented a formation within the Astonishing Cloud of Seas formation. The Astonishing Cloud of Seas formation was a large formation. It was also a composite formation that was formed by countless formations. Among them, the most important thing was that these formations could be combined and changed at will. There was no fixed safe route at all. The Astonishing Cloud of Seas formation is a treacherous formation. If it never changes, how could it be called treacherous? Chu Kuangren stroked his chin and smiled. With a wave of his hand, a light screen appeared on the tablet. It was the scene of Grey Lord Sage and the others dealing with the formation. Chapter 415. Black Heaven Sect. Inside the Astonishing Cloud of Seas formation, Grey Lord Sage, the Solar and Lunar Sages, and the others were busy dealing with the fiery meteors that were descending from the sky. However, the fiery meteors were extremely powerful. Any one of them had the strength of an honorable, and the hundreds and thousands of fiery meteors were so powerful that many of the ferry boats were severely damaged. Even after activating their defensive formations, they could only barely hold on. Solar collapse. Lunar fault. The Solar and Lunar Sages from the outer seas roared as their Daoist rhymes circulated and merged in the void, forming an extremely powerful force that instantly exploded. The combination of sunlight and moonlight smashed into the sky. With a loud explosion, the dazzling light covered half of the sky. Countless fiery meteors exploded under this force. Onward. The Solar and Lunar Sages roared. One by one, the ferry boats continued to move towards the Black Heaven Sect. Midway, wind and lightning converged and streaks of blue lightning appeared in the void, dancing wildly in the sky. Playing with lightning in front of the Thunder Falcon tribe? What a joke! Among the Cultivator army, the Thunder Falcon tribe members dashed out and transformed into their true forms. Their wings that covered the sky radiated with lightning. Dense lightning-based Daoist rhymes exploded in the void. They fought lightning with lightning. Boom, boom, boom. The void continued to explode, and a huge amount of lightning poured out. Hundreds and thousands of Thunder Falcon tribe cultivators controlled the lightning to clear a path for the Cultivator army, allowing them to pass through the lightning formation. However, there were still many changes after that. Windstorms, sword chi, sandstorms, all sorts of changes in the formation caused the Cultivator army to suffer more and more casualties. Even a sage would not be able to protect himself under the countless changes in the array formation, let alone the other cultivators. In less than an hour, more than half of the million-strong army had died. They were still thousands of kilometers away from the Black Heaven Sect. Less than a third of them had left. D***. If this goes on, most of us will die before we even reach the Black Heaven Sect's entrance. This formation can change on its own. Purple Void Sage died for nothing. The sage's expressions were extremely grim. In front of them, several figures were flying towards them. These figures looked exactly like Chu Kuangren. Tens of thousands of sword chi filled the void and wreaked havoc. It was so terrifying that it felt like an army of thousands. That's Chu Kuangren's clone technique. Wow, this guy has so many tricks up his sleeves. Everyone held their weapons and readied themselves. At that moment, a roar came from the giant ferry boat. Chu Kuangren, sword, sword. A beam of golden light shot out from the ferry boat, intertwining in the void, forming a magnificent picture scroll. The painting was thousands of feet long, and there were mountains and seas inside. Between the forests, there were tigers, leopards, wolves, wild oxen, horses, birds, and many other animals. An incomparably mysterious Daoist rhyme spread out, shaking the heavens and earth. Immediately afterward, the exotic beasts in the painting roared in unison before charging out of the painting and colliding with the sword Qi clone. These beasts did not have beasts. Sect beast king beasts. But the power they contained was real. Countless beasts and clones clashed together, causing an intense battle to erupt. Sword Qi and the power of beasts clashed fiercely. The surrounding mountains and rivers shook, and the sea of clouds rolled. The cultivators couldn't help but click their tongues as they watched the army of strange beasts contend with the sword Qi clones. Then they looked at the mysterious painting floating in the sky with strange beasts constantly charging out. They felt that the unknown lands were extraordinary. What is this? How can it be so powerful? This thing can actually contain so many strange beasts. Truly extraordinary. Inside the ferry boat, the sage rulers looked at the craggy ocean tower lord in awe. Is this the craggy ocean tower's mountain ocean scroll? Rumor has it that this object contains the souls of many strange beasts. It is indeed extraordinary. I've heard that the mountain and sea scroll contains the origin souls of 4 great beasts. They are the Taowu, the Tai, the Qiongqi, and the primal chaos. I wonder if that's true? Sage ruler Zhang Guang smiled faintly. It's just a fierce beast's origin soul that was imitated from the origin souls of other strange beasts. It's far from being comparable to a real fierce beast's origin soul. The craggy ocean tower lord said indifferently. The 4 great fierce beasts were famous existences in ancient times, but they had long gone extinct in the firmament star. Even though the craggy ocean tower had a long history, they could not find any traces of the 4 great fierce beasts. They could only capture some strange beasts' bestial souls according to the records and modify them into fierce beasts. Although they were powerful, they could not compare to the real fierce beasts. Even so, the mountain and sea scroll was not to be underestimated. In the air, the mountain and sea scroll radiated with boundless divine light. One by one, the strange beasts' bestial souls rushed out and fought the sword Qi clones. Under the power of the mountain and sea scroll, even though Chu Kuangren's sword Qi clones each had the combat strength of an honorable, they could not withstand the impact of the thousands of strange beasts' bestial souls. Today, I shall use the mountain and sea scroll to break your formation. The craggy ocean tower lord walked out of the ferry boat and said proudly. The Daoist rhymes on his body circulated and resonated with the thousands of strange beasts' bestial souls. They let out a series of roars that shook the heavens and the earth. At that moment, in the direction of the Black Heaven sect, a flame suddenly shot into the sky. Within the flame, there seemed to be a pair of wings that were spread open, emitting waves of auspicious light. A deafening cry of a phoenix echoed across the heavens and the earth. A surge of divine beast aura swept out from the flame, causing all the strange beasts' bestial souls to tremble uncontrollably. Some of the weaker strange beasts even prostrated on the ground in submission. As one of the strange beasts prostrated on the ground, the rest of the strange beasts, no matter how strong or weak, could not control themselves under the suppression of such a superior life form. All of them knelt on the ground in unison and let out a whimper. The might of a divine beast was displayed to its fullest. The craggy ocean tower lord stood on the ferry boat. The arrogant expression on his face was no longer there. Instead, it was filled with uncertainty. He had just finished speaking, and he was slapped in the face in the next instant. This was too fast. He could feel that not only the strange beasts in front of him, but even the 4 strongest wild beasts in the mountain and sea scroll were trembling in fear. Perhaps these wild beasts' cultivation levels were higher than the godly phoenixes, But that was the difference in their life forms. It was the suppression of a superior species over an inferior species. So this is a divine beast? It's indeed extraordinary. The craggy ocean tower lord stared at the Black Heaven sect with a gloomy expression and a hint of excitement. If he could extract this divine beast's soul, be it refined into a bestial soul seed or fuse it into the mountain and sea scroll, it would be of great help to the craggy ocean tower. Given time, when the godly phoenix's bestial soul was fully grown, it would not be impossible for the craggy ocean tower to become an emperor-level orthodoxy. At that thought, the craggy ocean tower lord's heart burned with passion. He looked in the direction of the Black Heaven sect with a burning gaze. He had already made up his mind. No matter what, he was determined to obtain the godly phoenix's soul. At that moment, a flame flew over from afar. The godly phoenix's elegant and noble figure gradually appeared before everyone. Its blood-red feathers emitted an auspicious aura. Wherever it went, countless strange beasts lowered their heads even more. Not a single strange beast dared to look directly at this beautiful divine beast. Chapter 416. I am the Black Heaven sect's godly phoenix, Chu Hong. You shall not be forgiven for invading the Black Heaven sect. The godly phoenix, Lil Red, said coldly. Although she sounded like a 7 or 8-year-old girl, the bestial souls could clearly sense her anger. Instinctively, they trembled even more violently. Then, Lil Red opened her mouth and spat out a ball of golden flames. The flames were extremely terrifying. The purest fire-based Daoist rhymes swirled around the flames, causing the void to distort from the heat. The flames landed in the midst of the strange beasts. Some of the strange beasts' bestial souls did not even have time to scream before they were burned into ashes. The asterisk starred, "How dare you?" The craggy ocean tower lord's expression changed. He wanted to capture the godly phoenix on the spot. He was a sage ruler. No matter how powerful the godly phoenix was, she had yet to ascend to the sage realm. Naturally, she was no match for him. He had absolute confidence that he could capture her alive. However, at that moment, from the sea of clouds, many long swords suddenly shot out. They were the long swords that were scattered in the sea of clouds after the Black Heaven sword formation was broken. At that moment, as if they were being controlled by an invisible force, the long swords formed a sword formation again and surrounded the ferry boat that the sage ruler was on. Majestic sword chi and Daoist rhymes were raging. Everyone could clearly feel that this was a sword formation that was much more terrifying than the Black Heaven sword formation. The Four Seasons sword formation. D**eminent, hiding a formation within a formation. How did Chu Kuangren manage to do this? How can he control this sword formation when he's not here? The craggy ocean tower lord was puzzled, but the sword formation's power was already upon him. He did not have much time to think. He raised his hand and channeled his spiritual power to fight against the sword formation. A terrifying sage ruler's power erupted as he shouted at the ferry boat. "Those inside, stop hiding. Come out and break the formation." The Four Seasons sword formation's power was so terrifying that even the craggy ocean tower lord could feel waves of pressure. Two figures walked out of the ferry boat. They were the Acheron Manor Lord and the Palace Lord of Death. They looked at the sword formation with a serious expression. What made them even more serious was that outside the sword formation, a loud dragon roar could be heard as the sea of clouds rumbled. Among the sea of clouds, a ferocious cloud dragon that was tens of thousands of meters long soared into the sky. Wherever it went, the ferry boat was easily destroyed. Even a sage would find it difficult to defend against its attack. The divine phoenix was also at the side, constantly releasing flames. This dragon and phoenix worked together seamlessly and were killing the army of cultivators without restraint. The Grey Lord Sage, the Sun and Moon Sages, and the others all acted in unison. However, they were only able to slightly slow down the speed of the enemy's massacre. That cloud dragon alone was not something they could resist. As for the Holy King, he was currently being hindered by the sword formation. "I have to break the formation quickly and get rid of that cloud dragon. Otherwise, The others will be killed by this dragon and phoenix. As the Acheron Manor Lord spoke, a peerlessly powerful Daoist rhyme erupted from his body. Behind him, the Daoist rhyme intertwined and formed a huge eye. That was the Emperor technique, Eye of the Yellow Spring. The Death Palace Master's body also released a terrifying gray deathly aura. The deathly aura surrounded him and gathered at his fingertips. Emperor Art, Finger of Despair. Let's begin. As the craggy ocean tower lord raised his hand, majestic Daoist rhymes gathered and transformed into a ferocious shadow of a ferocious beast that smashed towards the sword formation. The other two attacked at the same time. The inexorable finger energy, the Eye of the Yellow Springs released demonic light. 3 Emperor techniques and 3 surges of Sage Ruler energy collided with the sword formation. Within the sword formation, the Daoist rhyme of the 4 seasons flowed, and the nature's power of 1,000 creations transformed into a giant colorful sword that came crashing down. A deafening explosion shook the heavens and earth. All sorts of Daoist rhymes collided with each other, and an extremely violent shockwave spread out, continuously attacking the 4 season sword formation. Under such an attack, the sword formation was broken. One by one, the swords were scattered in all directions. As the shockwave spread out, the surrounding cultivators exploded one after another. Far away, inside the longevity hall of the Black Heaven sect, Chu Kuangren opened his eyes slightly and murmured, "Sure enough, using my mind power to control the sword formation is still not as effective as using my spiritual power." Mind power and spiritual power each had their own unique uses. Most formations required spiritual power to activate. Although Chu Kuangren could use his mind power to control them from afar, it was still not as smooth as using spiritual power. Otherwise, the craggy ocean tower lord and the others would not have been able to break the formation so easily. Lil Red, come back. Chu Kuangren sent a message to Lil Red. The sage rulers had already broken free from the sword formation. Although Lil Red's current strength could deal with most sages, she was still no match for a sage ruler. Yes. Lil Red turned around and flew back to the Black Heaven sect. Trying to leave? No way. The craggy ocean tower lord, who had already broken the sword formation, could not just watch as the godly phoenix left. He immediately gave chase. However, at that moment, the cloud dragon let out a roar, and the seemingly solid sound waves mixed with the formation's energy swept out in all directions like a tidal wave. Then, the cloud dragon clawed at the craggy ocean tower lord. That attack was so powerful that even a sage ruler could not help but narrow his eyes. He channeled all of his spiritual power and unleashed a punch. With a loud explosion, the void was blasted apart. The craggy ocean tower lord retreated dozens of feet and stared at the cloud dragon solemnly. This being's strength is indeed terrifying. Just one attack was enough to make him feel suffocated. That was undoubtedly the strength of a top-notch sage ruler. Finger of Despair. Demonic Eye of Acheron. 2 Emperor techniques were unleashed once again towards the cloud dragon. The cloud dragon swung its tail fiercely and a powerful force erupted. The 2 monarch techniques were shattered and the 2 sage rulers were sent flying. How powerful! Sage ruler Zhangguang, are you guys not going to make a move? The Acheron Manor Lord looked at the ferry boat. The great bottomless chasm lord took a step forward, holding a light blue orb in his hand that was flowing with a blue divine radiance. Move aside. Let me deal with this beast. The great chasm lord shouted coldly. He threw the blue orb in his hand into the air. In an instant, an extremely powerful torrential force erupted. The blue divine radiance shone, and the sound of a tsunami rang in everyone's ears. The orb smashed towards the cloud dragon, containing the boundless power of the ocean. The void shook as if it was about to collapse. The cloud dragon roared angrily, causing the mountains to tremble. It clawed at the orb. The 2 forces collided, causing everything within a radius of 10,000 miles to tremble. The clouds in the surroundings churned, and the cultivators could only stay inside the ferry boat. They tried their best to maintain the ferry boat's defensive formation to resist the aftershock of the impact. Die, you beast! The great chasm lord roared angrily. His spiritual power kept surging into the orb, and the boundless power of the ocean surged, crazily scouring the cloud dragon's body. The body made of clouds and mist continued to disintegrate and explode. Finally, the cloud dragon dissipated. However, the boundless power of the ocean surged towards the Black Heaven sect like a hot knife through butter. Wherever it went, there was no formation that could stop it. Not long after, the mountains and forests had all turned into a swamp. Just as the boundless power of the ocean reached the Black Heaven sect's mountain gate and was about to crash into it, the torrent of water suddenly stopped. The endless torrent of water stopped in front of the Black Heaven sect's mountain gate. Do you want to have a water fight? I'll return it to you. A cold shout came from the depths of the Black Heaven sect. As soon as the words were spoken, the torrent of water and the boundless power of the ocean surged back at an even faster speed. All the water along the way converged and turned into an earth-shattering tsunami. The cultivator army looked extremely tiny in the face of this tsunami. Chapter 417. With that, the boundless oceanic energy that the great bottomless chasm dweller had used a certain treasure to activate was reflected back at him. Not only that, but the energy became even stronger and more violent as it turned into a horrifying tsunami that surged towards the army. Faced with such power, many of the sages at the scene could not help but turn pale, especially the sages of the 36 oceanic islands. Back then, Chu Kuangren had used such power to shock the entire ocean. Such power had once destroyed an entire island. Now, such power had reappeared in front of them. D*eminent, Chu Kuangren has the Empyrean Neptune's halberd, so we can't use the torrential force on him. We're in trouble now. What a horrifying tsunami. This power is too strong. Compared to the panic of the cultivator army, the great bottomless chasm dweller was much calmer. Although he looked a little serious at the scene before him, he was still far from panicking. Obviously, Chu Kuangren's counterattack was within his expectations. Oceanic Calming Pearl, stabilize. The great bottomless chasm dweller channeled his spiritual power into the pale blue pearl that was floating in front of him. A vast and boundless energy was emitted from the pearl, and the boundless tsunami that was surging towards it was actually frozen in place. Absorb. The endless torrential force was continuously absorbed into the oceanic calming pearl. Inside the longevity hall, Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. Oh, this pearl is quite an impressive quasi-emperor weapon. It was able to destroy the cloud dragon and stop the tsunami. Chu Kuangren grinned. Then he raised his arm and gathered the spiritual chi of the heavens and earth. A purple sword shadow with a majestic aura suddenly slashed out. The sword chi spanned thousands of miles and slashed towards the great bottomless chasm dweller. The sudden sword chi made the great chasm dweller's pupils dilate. He then controlled the oceanic calming pearl to absorb the torrential force while channeling the spiritual power in his body to form a huge palm print that attacked the sword chi. When the two surges of energy collided, the void exploded. The great chasm dweller had overestimated his strength. Chu Kuangren's sword chi was far sharper than he had imagined. The moment the two surges of energy collided, the great chasm dweller, who did not use his full strength because he was controlling the oceanic calming pearl, immediately suffered a backlash. His body trembled and was forced to retreat several feet. The spiritual power that was channeling the sea calming pearl was instantly cut off. Although the sea calming pearl had absorbed a great deal of the torrential power, there was still a portion that had not been fully absorbed. The remaining portion of the torrential power fell upon the army of cultivators, and one immortal boat after another was smashed into pieces. Many cultivators exploded on the spot from the impact of the water currents. Chu Kuangren. The great bottomless chasm dweller gritted his teeth as he stared at the Black Heaven sect in the distance. He had not expected that his opponent's sword chi would be so strong that it could actually reach the level of a saint king. Wasn't he said to be below the level of a saint? You were too careless. On the ferry boat, sage ruler Zhang Guang said, but it's no wonder. You've been living under the sea for a long time, so your understanding of Chu Kuangren is only from others. You've never met him, let alone fought him. The great ruins lord snorted softly and said, "This person's control over the sea god's halberd is greater than I imagined. With the sea god's halberd, most of my methods are useless against him. I can only restrain him at most." "If that's the case, then aren't you useless?" Beside him, the Acheron Manor lord sneered. The great ruins lord glared at him. "If not for the fact that we need to deal with Chu Kuangren first, I would have pulled out your tongue." "Oh, do you think I'm afraid of you?" The Acheron Manor lord was not afraid at all. The sage ruler was a prideful person. How could he tolerate someone else's provocation? "All right, aren't we making a fool out of ourselves in front of Chu Kuangren?" Sage ruler Zhang Guang snorted coldly. "That's right." Master Daoist Yun Tao also tried to smooth things over. "Now that the cloud dragon has been destroyed, the threat of this formation is greatly reduced. Let's continue forward," Sage ruler Zhang Guang said to Grey Lord Sage and the others. "Yes." Grey Lord Sage gritted his teeth. At this point, half of the million-strong army had been destroyed. Along the way, there were corpses of cultivators everywhere. If they could not make friends with the unknown lands in this battle, then they would not be able to make up for their losses. The army continued to move forward. There were still many formations along the way. They trapped, or killed. Even without the cloud dragon, the formation's power was still terrifying. However, a few sage rulers had already intervened. With their help and the sacrifice of nearly 100,000 cultivators, the army finally arrived at the Black Heaven Sect's mountain entrance. Looking at the mountain entrance before them, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It was not easy. It was not easy at all. The damage that the formation inflicted on them was too terrifying. A million-strong army and nearly 100 sages, many of whom were in the Great Sage Realm, could even flatten the Forbidden Area's ancient battlefield. Yet, they continued to suffer heavy casualties in the face of this formation. After paying an unimaginable price, they had only just arrived at the Black Heaven Sect's entrance. This was something that no one could have imagined before they came here. In other words, they did not even dare to think about it. Who would have thought that Chu Kuangren could bring out such a powerful formation? This formation is indeed terrifying, but we've already made it through. Let's see what else Chu Kuangren has up his sleeves. Grey Lord Sage snorted. "That's right, let's enter the Black Heaven Sect. Let's go." Just as the army was about to enter the Black Heaven Sect, suddenly, a white-robed figure slowly walked out of the mountain entrance. The moment they saw him, the originally arrogant crowd immediately stopped in their tracks. Some of them could not help but take a few steps back. That person was Chu Kuangren. Holding an ancient sword in his hand, he slowly walked out of the mountain entrance. One man and one sword, facing off against the many cultivators in front of him, including the sages. His robe was as white as snow, spotless, and his face was peerlessly handsome. On the other hand, although the army in front of him had a large number of people, every one of them looked battered and disheveled. They had been tortured by the formation. The contrast was too shocking. TSK, how ugly. They're all sages, but why do they look like beggars? Chu Kuangren shook his head and said. Everyone's expression darkened at his words. Chu Kuangren, you're already at death's door, yet you're still talking nonsense. Grey Lord Sage snorted and said with a cold gaze. Death's door? Chu Kuangren shook his head and chuckled. I'm curious, who gave you guys such a misconception? Chu Kuangren, are you alone? Celestial Sage's gaze swept back and forth. But, are you afraid of an ambush? What a joke. What's the point of ambushing us with so few people from the Black Heaven Sect? Celestial Sage said coldly. He was right. Although they had suffered heavy casualties, they still had more than 100,000 people left. Not only that, but those who survived were the cream of the crop, and more than half of them were battle monarchs and above. Even if the Black Heaven Sect came out in full force, it would not be enough. Don't overestimate yourselves. You're not worthy of an ambush. I'm the only one here, and I even came out to avoid damaging the Black Heaven Sect's buildings. Do you think you can stop all of us by yourself? I think I can. Chu Kuangren took a step forward, and a sharp sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted. At that moment, it was as if a divine sword was unsheathed, and 1,000 mountains trembled. Chapter 418. I think it's possible. As he took a step forward, his sword-based Daoist rhyme gushed out. The strength of the Daoist rhyme caused the surrounding void to tremble. Countless cultivators were so shocked that they did not dare to take another step forward. Chu Kuangren's reputation was too great along the way. His invincible stance was engraved in everyone's heart. What's wrong? Didn't you guys come here to deal with me? To deal with me, you've mobilized so many people and caused so much chaos in the world. Now that I'm standing right in front of you, why don't you dare to move? Chu Kuangren glanced at the sages in front of him. Go! A loud voice came from inside the ferry boat. It was Sage Ruler Zhang Guang who had spoken. Grey Lord Sage roared. Kill! Then, a layer of black armor covered his body and he charged out first. He unleashed his overlord physique's power to its limit. Chu Kuangren, pay for the serpent deity's death. The outer seas sages also attacked. All sorts of powerful sage Daoist rhymes erupted. The first to reach Chu Kuangren was Grey Lord Sage's domineering fist chi, followed by the other sages' powers. The sun and moon energies, torrential energies, sword chi and saber rays, all sorts of energies and Daoist rhymes surged towards Chu Kuangren. Even a sage ruler would not dare to say that they could handle such power. However, Chu Kuangren unsheathed the descendant self-sword at his waist and unleashed a purple sword ray that covered half of the sky. The power of that sword ray had forcefully split apart the sage's joint attack. Terrifying sword chi swept across the area. The sages were forced back a few dozen meters while Chu Kuangren himself was also forced back a few hundred meters by the sage's joint attack. Not only that, the attacks of the other 100,000 cultivators had also arrived. All sorts of Daoist rhymes intertwined to form a colorful ocean that attacked Chu Kuangren from all directions. Chu Kuangren flipped his sleeves and the lingering song Guqin appeared. He began to play with it. Guqin music erupted. The seventh movement of the 8 celestial demonic chords, heavenly and earthly echoes. Boom, boom, boom. The Guqin music's Daoist rhymes were like waves that continued to spread. The surging energies from all directions were shattered by the Guqin music. Seeing this, one of the saints took out a huge black stone that was as smooth as a mirror and tossed it into the air. Chu Kuangren, I've been prepared for your Guqin music. The sage laughed. The black stone floated in the air, continuously absorbing the majestic zither music. The entire black stone trembled violently. The cultivators nearby were overjoyed seeing this. This sound-absorbing stone is indeed effective. The Guqin music was restricted, but Chu Kuangren did not stop waving the long sword in his hand. His sword chi danced, and wherever it went, blood would flow like a river. Look at my prime magnet. The Thunder Falcon tribe's sage took out a piece of magnet and a powerful suction force instantly restrained the descendant self-sword in Chu Kuangren's hand. A sound-absorbing stone and a primary magnet. It seems like you've prepared a lot to deal with me. It's a pity that these things might have been useful in the past, but now, they're just scrap metal. With a wave of his sword chi, the descendant self-sword unleashed a powerful and violent sword ray towards the prime magnet in the Thunder Falcon Saint's hand. The cultivators blocking the way were easily torn apart by the sword light. The prime magnet was struck by the sword light, and with a clang, it shattered into powder. The Thunder Falcon tribe saint was killed on the spot by the sword chi. From then on, the Thunder Falcon tribe no longer had a sage. Chu Kuangren tossed the descendant self-sword into the air. The long sword circled around him, and surges of sword chi traveled back and forth in all directions. His fingers plucked the Guqin strings, and a majestic Guqin music erupted. The first movement of the 8 celestial demonic chords, Boundless Expanse. Following that was the second movement, the third movement, the fourth movement, the ambush from 10 sides, the fifth movement, the sixth movement, the sixth movement, the seventh movement, the dual reverberation of heaven and earth. The Guqin music Daoist rhyme became more and more majestic, and the sound-absorbing stone in the air continued to tremble. Unable to withstand the pressure, cracks began to appear on it. Finally, with a loud bang, it exploded, and the guqin music it absorbed exploded in an even more terrifying manner, spreading in all directions. The sage who was controlling the sound-absorbing stone bore the brunt of the attack. He was blasted into pieces by the terrifying guqin music Daoist rhyme, and died without a complete corpse. Come. Have a taste of my sword qi and listen to my guqin music. Otherwise, you'll say that the Black Heaven sect doesn't know how to treat its guests. Chu Kuangren laughed out loud as he plucked the guqin strings with all 10 fingers. Guqin music Daoist rhyme erupted, and the descendant self-sword danced along with the guqin music. It shuttled back and forth around Chu Kuangren, and terrifying sword qi erupted one after another. The guqin music sword qi was majestic, and it shook the heavens and earth. Chu Kuangren sat down with his legs crossed. His sword qi continued to rumble, and his guqin music echoed throughout the heavens and earth. Countless cultivators were harvested like wheat, and blood dyed half of the Black Heaven sect's mountain entrance red. Chu Kuangren, don't you dare be so arrogant. At that moment, several figures dashed out from the ferry boat. These people were all great sages, and there were 4 of them in total. They came to Chu Kuangren's surroundings and stood in 4 different directions. Daoist rhymes circulated around their bodies, and a golden qi rose from them. Golden unity qi formation, form. With a low roar, the Daoist rhymes on the 4 great sages resonated with each other, and mysterious runes formed in the void. A majestic Daoist rhyme pressed down on Chu Kuangren like a mountain. Oh, a formation? Chu Kuangren smirked. His 10 fingers plucked, and the guqin music Daoist rhyme gradually rose to a new height. Final 8 celestial demonic chords, grand note of silence. The final song was silent. However, the majestic Daoist rhyme and the invisible sound waves collided with the golden unity qi formation, and the 4 great sages could not help but tremble. The 4 of them were sent flying, but at the last moment, each of them unleashed a palm attack. 4 surges of palm qi converged in midair and turned into a giant dark yellow palm that descended from the sky towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren plucked the guqin strings, and the celestial demonic chord finale, grand note of silence, was played again. With a loud explosion, the Daoist rhymes collided and shook 1,000 miles. Clang! The guqin strings in Chu Kuangren's hands broke one by one under the impact. He looked down at the guqin and sighed. The power of the 8 celestial demonic chords is too much for a normal guqin to handle. You've been with me for so long, and it's only today that you can't handle it anymore. Chu Kuangren put away the guqin, and the descendant self-sword that was circling around him returned to his hand. The moment the long sword was in his hand, the power of the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart erupted, and the 3 great Daoist physique transformations spread out. At the same time, the divine ferocious avatar formed behind him. His battle roar echoed in all directions. Countless surges of Daoist rhymes circulated around his body, and a divine radiance bloomed. The infallible tormented physique and transcendent coalescence were activated at the same time. Sage ruler in the ferry boat, don't just stand there and do nothing. Why don't we attack together? Chu Kuangren looked at the ferry boat and said, As you wish. A majestic palm energy blasted out from the ferry boat. Chu Kuangren unleashed a sword attack, and the power of his 3 great Daoist physiques tore the palm attack apart. His body stood still on the spot. The craggy ocean tower lord slowly walked out from the ferry boat. A sage ruler had attacked. Chu Kuangren activated his eye of revelation and instantly determined the identity and strength of the person in front of him. His eyes were filled with battle intent. Come, let me see what the sage ruler of the unknown lands is capable of. Chu Kuangren pointed his sword at the craggy ocean tower lord. Chapter 419. Chu Kuangren pointed his sword at the craggy ocean tower lord. Both of them stood against the wind as their auras continued to rise. 2 completely different Daoist rhymes clashed against each other. Both of them had yet to move, but their domineering auras were enough to shatter mountains and rivers. Their domineering auras clashed against each other, forming an invisible force field around them. Anyone below the level of a sage would not dare to get too close. Chu Kuangren, before we fight, I have something to ask you. What nonsense is there? Spill it. Did you kill my disciple Li Zhe? The craggy ocean tower lord asked coldly. Chu Kuangren pondered for a moment before he looked up and asked, Li Zhe, that sounds familiar. Who is he? Veins popped on the craggy ocean tower lord's forehead as he suppressed his anger. He's the young master of the Nine-Head clan. Did you kill him? Chu Kuangren came to a realization at the mention of the Nine-Head clan. Oh, you mean the scum who killed his own clan? I think I remember him. Yes, that's right. I killed him. I think he had a bestial soul seed on him too, right? I have it with me too. Chu Kuangren took out the bestial soul seed that he obtained from Li Zhe and said, Why? Do you want this thing back? I'll kill you. After the craggy ocean tower lord confirmed that Chu Kuangren was the one who killed his beloved disciple, he roared and channeled his spiritual power. A violent palm chi gushed out and formed into a ferocious beast in the void, roaring as it charged forward. Its ferocious chi was so powerful that it seemed like it was going to devour the world. It was one of the 4 great wild beasts, the Tao. In the face of the palm chi that had transformed into a strange beast, Chu Kuangren swung the long sword in his hand horizontally, and an incomparably chilling purple sword ray shone brightly across the sky. Heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. This emperor technique had accompanied Chu Kuangren for a long time. It was the technique that he had used for the longest time, and it was also the technique that he was most familiar with. With that one slash, heaven and earth were destroyed. The ferocious Taodai beast was torn apart by the sword chi. The remaining sword chi then charged towards the craggy ocean tower lord. The craggy ocean tower lord could not help but widen his eyes when faced with that sharp sword chi. Despite his sage ruler cultivation level, he raised his hand and unleashed another palm attack. The violent palm chi shattered the sword chi. However, Chu Kuangren had already charged towards him once again. The exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, the infallible tormented physique, and the transcendent coalescence physique were the 3 supreme physiques in the world. The power they contained was what countless cultivators in the world dreamed of. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, possessed 3 supreme Daoist physiques, and he was able to utilize the power of these 3 supreme Daoist physiques to the fullest, fusing sword chi, ferocious chi, and the transcendental force into each and every move. This kind of power was extremely terrifying. His every move had the power to shake the heavens and earth. This guy is really strong. The craggy ocean tower lord waved both of his palms at Chu Kuangren. Every time the 2 sides collided, it was like 100,000 mountains colliding together. The entire earth and even the sky were shaking. Raging God Fist. After Chu Kuangren forced the craggy ocean tower lord to retreat, he raised his arm and unleashed a punch. The black fist mark burned with fury as it shot out. The craggy ocean tower lord raised his hand and slapped the void. Palm chi intertwined and transformed into a winged tiger beast. It was Cheong Chi. After the fist and palm collided, both sides were forced to retreat. However, Chu Kuangren did not give up. He unleashed all kinds of emperor techniques. Heaven's sorrow palm. As soon as he unleashed his palm attack, an inexplicable sorrowful aura filled the air. Some of the sages seemed to be affected, and their battle intent was greatly reduced. Heart-piercing finger. The heart-piercing finger erupted, questioning the sage's Daoist core. Even the craggy ocean tower lord could not help but be distracted by the 2 types of power that targeted one's mind. His attack was delayed for a moment, and a huge shockwave of energy swept across and crashed into the craggy ocean tower lord's body like a mountain torrent. Even a great sage would instantly explode under such an attack. However, the craggy ocean tower lord's body only trembled. Only a trickle of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. It seemed like he had only suffered a minor injury. However, that was enough to infuriate him. Chu Kuangren, you sure have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. I didn't expect you to be able to hurt me. The craggy ocean tower lord sneered as his eyes burned with murderous intent. Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed. Oh, you're a sage ruler indeed. Just this sage ruler's body alone is enough to kill most sages. Apart from Daoist rhymes, the most obvious difference between sages and those below them was their sage physique. The spiritual power and Daoist rhymes of a sage's level would nourish and strengthen one's physical body. The stronger one was in the sage realm, the more terrifying one's physical body would be. This was especially true for sages who specialized in strengthening their physical bodies. As a sage ruler, the craggy ocean tower lord had purposely strengthened his sage ruler physique. Chu Kuangren's attack could easily kill a great sage, but it could not do much damage to the craggy ocean tower lord's physical body. Chu Kuangren, that's all you've got. Now, let me show you what I'm really capable of. The craggy ocean tower lord snorted and took out the craggy ocean scroll. In an instant, a magnificent scroll unfurled between the heavens and the earth, and a roar echoed across the sky. Then 4 terrifying craggy ocean bestial souls walked out of it. One was a ferocious tiger with a pair of wings on its back. One was a fat insect with 6 legs and 4 wings, and its entire body was crimson red like fire. One had bull horns and tiger claws, and it had a ferocious mouth full of sharp teeth. The last one was covered in long golden fur, and it looked like a tiger, but it had the fangs of a wild boar. These were the 4 strongest wild beast bestial souls in the craggy ocean scroll. They were the lust beast, Hundun beast, gluttonous beast, and Bai Wu. Although they were not real wild beast bestial souls as they were created by the craggy ocean tower through some secret technique, they were still very powerful. However, the strength of its power was still not to be underestimated. That terrifying baleful aura filled the void, causing one's heart to palpitate. What a terrifying bestial soul wild beast. The craggy ocean tower's techniques are indeed extraordinary. Each of these wild beasts is at the peak of a great sage. No, their combat strength is close to the level of a sage ruler. This is too terrifying. The sages exclaimed. These 4 great wild beast bestial souls alone were more than enough to take on all the sages from the unknown lands. This was the power of the unknown lands. The 4 beasts, huh? Come. Chu Kuangren was fearless as he took the initiative to attack. The moment he made his move, a black armor suddenly appeared on his body, and a ferocious chi that was far stronger than the 4 beasts erupted. What? The craggy ocean tower lord's eyes widened. He was not the only one. The other sage rulers in the ferry boat could not help but stand up with shock on their faces. That armor is an emperor weapon. Another emperor weapon. Other than the Empyrean Neptune's halberd, this guy has another emperor weapon. How is this possible? Emperor weapons were extremely rare. Ever since the disappearance of the last ancient emperor, emperor weapons had basically disappeared from the firmament star. Even in the unknown lands, there were not many who possessed emperor weapons. However, Chu Kuangren alone owned 2 of them. It must be the opportunity of fortune in the Qian Imperial Palace. That's right, that must be it. Otherwise, how else could he have another emperor weapon? Sage ruler Zhang Guang said. The sage rulers quickly figured out the origin of the innate ferocious armor. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren was already locked in battle with the 4 wild beasts. The ferocious beast Qi and the emperor weapon's ferocious Qi collided. However, it did not take long for the 4 beasts' ferocious Qi to be completely suppressed. Chapter 420. The 4 beasts of the mountain and ocean scroll were extremely powerful. Each of them was infinitely close to becoming a sage ruler, and their combined combat strength was something that even a sage ruler would have to be careful of. However, after Chu Kuangren activated his innate ferocious armor, his ferocious chi exploded and overwhelmed the 4 beasts. The innate ferocious armor and his infallible tormented physique complemented each other perfectly, allowing his combat strength to reach a terrifying level. Divine ferocious avatar, activate. Chu Kuangren yelled. The terrifying ferocious chi condensed into a black figure behind him. That figure was hundreds of meters tall and emanated endless battle intent and ferocious qi. Its battle cry reverberated and shook the heavens and earth. Break! Chu Kuangren unleashed a punch, and the divine ferocious avatar behind him followed suit and unleashed a punch as well. That punch landed directly on the Taotai bestial soul's gaping mouth, and a terrifying ferocious qi erupted. It entered the bestial soul's body and exploded. The dignified Taoye's origin soul had actually exploded. Again! Chu Kuangren laughed as his endless battle intent surged. He clenched his fists and smashed them onto Tao Wu's head like a sledgehammer. His terrifying strength exploded Tao Wu's head. Roar! The remaining Qiong Qi let out a furious roar and charged towards Chu Kuangren. It used its claws and mouth to grab the divine ferocious avatar. However, Chu Kuangren snorted and unleashed his ferocious qi, pushing his innate ferocious armor to its limit. With the help of the Emperor weapon, the divine ferocious avatar's power skyrocketed. Chu Kuangren grabbed one of the wild beasts with both hands. The Dharma idol fiercely used its strength and smashed the two ferocious beasts together. A violent evil qi crazily attacked the bodies of the two ferocious beasts. With a bang, the remaining two ferocious beasts completely exploded. A large amount of soul energy dispersed into the air. Others could not touch it, but Chu Kuangren could. He activated his universal cauldron physique and absorbed the soul energy into his body. The soul energy of these four bestial souls was a great supplement. Chu Kuangren sneered at the craggy ocean tower lord. Your four pets aren't that great. Why don't you find a few more? Upon hearing his words, the craggy ocean tower lord trembled in anger. The craggy ocean tower had spent a great deal of effort to refine these four bestial souls, but now, they had all been destroyed by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, I must kill you, the craggy ocean tower lord said coldly. Let's see who kills who. Chu Kuangren sneered. He then raised his arm and unleashed a punch that was filled with ferocious qi towards the craggy ocean tower lord. The power of this attack had already reached the level of a Saint King. The craggy ocean tower lord resisted with all his might, but he was still sent flying hundreds of meters away. Sage ruler Zhang Guang, stop watching the show. He has shown most of his trump cards. It's time to make a move. The craggy ocean tower lord shouted. He had even taken out his emperor weapon. What other trump cards could he have? Several figures flew out from the ferry boat. The Acheron Manor Lord, the Palace Master of Death, Daoist Yun Tao, Sage Ruler Zhang Guang, and the Great Bottomless Chasm Dweller appeared in the sky. 5 different surges of Daoist rhymes erupted. Some were sinister, some were cold, some were ethereal, some were majestic, and some were boundless. The 5 of them locked their gazes on Chu Kuangren with unparalleled killing intent. It was a sign of their determination to kill Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, you should be honored that 6 sage rulers have teamed up just to kill you. Since the beginning of time, no one else has done this except you. Sage ruler Zhang Guang said indifferently. Ha, what a joke. You guys want to kill me? I should be honored. Let me ask you, are you out of your mind? Chu Kuangren laughed out loud. Then, a golden trident appeared on his body. It was his second emperor weapon, the Empyrean Neptune's halberd. The innate ferocious armor and the Empyrean Neptune's halberd appeared in his hands. Boundless Emperor's aura gushed out from Chu Kuangren's body. At that moment, it was as if he had transformed into an ancient emperor who controlled the world. The cultivators at the scene had the urge to kneel down and worship him. What a terrifying Chu Kuangren! If not for the 6 great Saint Kings taking action today, if there was only one Saint King, I'm afraid he would really not be a match for him. He's too powerful. I thought it would be a piece of cake for us to kill Chu Kuangren, but I didn't expect him to have such a trump card. 2 emperor weapons. What kind of opportunity of fortune is this? Countless cultivators were shocked. Even the sages felt their scalps tingle. The 6 sage rulers who were fighting Chu Kuangren also had a serious look on their faces. Everyone, don't let your guard down. I don't dare to be careless against this person, the 6 sage rulers said before they attacked. Sage ruler Zhang Guang knew that Chu Kuangren's strength was not to be underestimated since he had an emperor weapon. Hence, he immediately used the emperor technique that he had been studying for a long time. He threw out a punch that was filled with surging golden light. Finger of Despair. Eye of Acheron. The Death Palace Lord and the Acheron Manor Lord did not hold back either. Their attacks were also powerful emperor techniques. When the three sage rulers activated the three emperor techniques at the same time, their power was many times stronger than the Empyrean walkers. Chu Kuangren let out a long roar as he waved the Empyrean Neptune's halberd in his hand. Surges of torrential force surrounded his body, turning his surroundings into a boundless ocean. Terrifying Daoist rhymes surged out from the Empyrean Neptune's halberd in all directions. The three emperor techniques and emperor weapons collided. Oceanic Calming Pearl. The great bottomless chasm dweller saw Chu Kuangren activating his emperor weapon. He then took out the Oceanic Calming Pearl. The moment the Oceanic Calming Pearl appeared, the torrential force around it froze for a moment. Although the Empyrean Neptune's halberd was so powerful that it quickly broke through the Oceanic Calming Pearl's seal, it gave the other sage rulers an opportunity to attack. The power of the three emperor techniques broke through the emperor weapon's power and landed on Chu Kuangren's body, sending him flying. Chu Kuangren's figure was sent flying like a cannonball before he crashed into a few mountains not far away. The mountains exploded one after another, causing a huge cloud of dust to billow. However, Chu Kuangren dashed out from the cloud of dust with ferocious chi surging around his body. With the protection of the innate ferocious armor, he did not suffer too much damage. Even if he did, his immortal body could heal him quickly. The sage rulers could tell how powerful the innate ferocious armor was, and their expressions turned grim. Sage ruler Zhang Guang said, "If we want to kill him, we'll have to break through the innate ferocious armor's defense first." The other saint rulers rolled their eyes when they heard that. The Acheron Manor Lord said bluntly, "Aren't you talking nonsense? That's an emperor weapon we're talking about. It's easier said than done to break through the defense of an emperor weapon. Chu Kuangren is still below the level of a sage, so there's a limit to how much power he can unleash from an emperor weapon. It's not like we don't have a chance. Moreover, using an emperor weapon consumes a huge amount of spiritual power and mental strength. With his cultivation level, he won't be able to sustain it for long. We can still exhaust him to death." The craggy Ocean Tower Lord said, "That's right. Although it's a little dishonorable, he has an emperor weapon. That's the only thing we can do," Master Daoist Yuntao said. Not far away, Chu Kuangren flew towards them and swung his halberd. The majestic torrential force blasted towards the great chasm dweller and sent him flying. The powerful force caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. "Ha, you guys can't hurt me, but you won't be able to withstand the power of an emperor weapon. How long can you guys hold on?" Chu Kuangren laughed and said, "That's true, but we don't have a limit, and you only have a limited time to use the emperor weapon. How long can you hold on?" Sage ruler Zhang Guang retorted. Both sides could see each other's weaknesses. The battle was getting more intense. Chapter 421. The six sage rulers battled against Chu Kuangren. Violent energy waves continued to spread, and the entire void seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. This energy had turned the area within a 100-kilometer radius into a forbidden zone. Anyone who got close to it would most likely die. With two emperor weapons in his possession, Chu Kuangren's strength was unparalleled. Every move he made had the power to shake the heavens and the earth. Even the six sage rulers did not dare to fight him head-on. Even the sage rulers could only barely block his attacks. The power of an emperor weapon was too terrifying. Chu Kuangren stood in the void and suddenly exclaimed in surprise. He struck the void with his halberd and shattered an invisible energy attack. An invisible attack. The ethereal rapture's ethereal enigma realm is still as unpredictable as ever. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Not far away, Master Daoist Yuntao stood in the air. His figure seemed a little ethereal, as if he could disappear at any time. That was the ethereal rapture's emperor technique, the ethereal enigma realm. No matter how unpredictable it is, you've still managed to block it. Master Daoist Yun Tao said with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Even a sage ruler of the same realm would not be able to detect his ethereal enigma realm. However, Chu Kuangren had keenly sensed it and easily blocked his attack. Did his ethereal enigma realm lose its effect? At that thought, he hid in the void. When the other sage rulers joined forces to attack Chu Kuangren, he attacked a few more times. However, all of them were blocked by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren could see through his attacks. What was going on? Master Daoist Yun Tao could not figure it out. His ethereal enigma realm had not been broken for so many years, yet it was defeated by Chu Kuangren again and again. How did he do it? No matter how hard he tried, he did not know that there was a kind of conjuring talent that could greatly enhance the senses of his spiritual thoughts and hence detect his ethereal enigma realm. Floating pool of death chi. In the air, the sacred death palace lord suddenly yelled. A large amount of death chi gushed out from his body, and a large amount of Daoist rhymes enveloped the surroundings, forming a pool out of thin air. Standing in the pool, Chu Kuangren could feel a large amount of death chi surging towards him, trying to corrode his body. Humph, how laughable! Chu Kuangren let out a soft snort. Ferocious chi surged on the innate ferocious armor on his body, so the surrounding chi of death could not hurt him at all. Following that, a violent murderous aura burst forth, striking the surroundings. Countless death chi dispersed one after another, and the pool formed by the interweaving death Daoist rhymes exploded one after another before finally shattering. Tisk, as expected of an imperial armament. The Death Palace master clicked his tongue in amazement. His eyes were burning with passion. After fighting for so long, no matter how powerful Chu Kuangren is, he should be on the verge of collapsing. How can he still wield his emperor weapon? The Acheron Manor Lord frowned and said. The other Saint Kings also sensed that something was wrong. Chu Kuangren had been using the two emperor weapons to battle them for quite some time now. Even if they were to personally wield the emperor weapons, they would not dare to say that they could last that long. Yet Chu Kuangren, who was not even a sage, had done it. Moreover, he was using two sovereign weapons at the same time. This was simply unbelievable. Heh, do you want to know how long I can last? Chu Kuangren sneered and waved the Empyrean Neptune's halberd in his hand. A massive amount of torrential force mixed with ferocious chi erupted like a torrent, blasting the six sage rulers back. It was true that Chu Kuangren could not wield the emperor weapons for too long. However, things were different now. After consuming the yin-yang soul pill, which strengthened his soul energy, the time he could wield the emperor weapons had greatly increased. We need to think of a way to trap him first. Sage ruler Zhang Guang said. He then took out 4 pale yellow stone tablets and tossed them into the air. In an instant, an incredibly domineering aura spread out. The 4 stone tablets were positioned at 4 corners to suppress the surrounding area, forming a mysterious formation that enveloped Chu Kuangren within it. Heavenly Golden Unifying Chi Formation. Sage ruler Zhang Guang yelled. Then 4 great sages dashed out from behind him. Each of them stood in front of a stone tablet and channeled all of their spiritual energy into it, instantly increasing the formation's power. Under such pressure, even a sage ruler would find it hard to break free. Finger of Despair. Eye of Acheron. Gluttonous Palm. The other sage rulers took the opportunity to attack while Chu Kuangren was trapped. Finger energies, demonic rays, and palm energies landed on Chu Kuangren's body one after another, causing his innate ferocious armor to vibrate continuously. Although the emperor weapons were powerful and did not suffer any damage from the sage ruler's attacks, the huge recoil continued to impact Chu Kuangren's physical body, causing his bones and flesh to rupture. That hurts a little. Chu Kuangren gasped in shock. However, under the powerful regenerative abilities of his immortal body, his broken bones and flesh began to heal at an extremely fast speed. Ever since he began cultivating, his immortal body had always been his most important asset. This time was no exception. Divine Ferocious Avatar. Chu Kuangren activated the divine ferocious avatar, and with the help of his innate ferocious armor, his battle intent and ferocious chi crashed into the 4 stone tablets around him. A series of loud explosions reverberated throughout the area. The light on the 4 stone tablets gradually dimmed. The 4 great sages who were supporting the stone tablets spat out mouthfuls of blood as their faces turned pale. However, none of them let go and continued to channel their spiritual energy into the stone tablets. Very well. Let's see how long you guys can last. Chu Kuangren let out a long roar, and a blood-red flame suddenly appeared on his body. An even more terrifying aura erupted from his body. It's the 9 Deaths blazing blood art. D***. Once he activates the 9 Deaths blazing blood art, his spiritual energy will definitely increase tremendously. When that happens, he'll be able to unleash an even greater power than the Emperor weapons. The sage rulers' expressions turned grim. They continuously activated their Emperor techniques and attacked Chu Kuangren. 1 attack, 2 attacks, 3 attacks. If it were anyone else, even 10 sage rulers, they would have died after receiving such an attack. However, Chu Kuangren was unscathed. On the contrary, his aura continued to increase. D***. What's going on? Even if he has an Emperor weapon, this is still too much. The pupils of the few Saint Kings constricted, and they could not help but be shocked. Chu Kuangren activated the 9 Deaths blazing blood art and his aura reached its peak. The divine ferocious avatar behind him continuously roared, and its ferocious chi crashed into the 4 stone tablets around him. Gradually, cracks began to appear on the surface of the stone tablets. The heavenly golden tablet can no longer suppress him. Sage ruler Zhang Guang exclaimed. The heavenly golden tablet was one of the treasures of the heavenly golden palace. Every single one of them was a top-notch sage ruler weapon, and when all 4 of them were placed together, the heavenly golden unifying chi formation was even more powerful. It could even suppress a sage ruler, but now, these 4 stone tablets could no longer withstand Chu Kuangren's strength. What did that mean? It meant that Chu Kuangren's combat strength had surpassed a sage ruler's. With a loud bang, the 4 heavenly golden tablets shattered. The terrifying impact sent the 4 great sages who were controlling the stone tablets flying. 3 of them were blasted into pieces on the spot, and the last one managed to survive because he had a defensive sage weapon on him. However, he was already on the brink of death. Gluttonous devouring technique. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and activated the gluttonous devouring technique. The flesh and blood essences of the sages around him were absorbed into his body, quickly replenishing his depleted spiritual energy. Chu Kuangren's body was covered in blood-colored flames, and he was clad in a pitch-black armor. With a halberd in his hand, he looked like a god of war who had just walked out of the Azura battlefield. What other techniques do you have? Show me. Chapter 422. What other techniques do you have? Show them to your heart's content. Chu Kuangren's battle intent soared like a godly king. He took a step forward, causing the void to tremble and the mountains to tremble. The 6 saint rulers before him were all stunned by his power, and their faces became rather sunken. Around them, the countless cultivators who came to encircle the Black Heaven sect could not help but feel terrified. What should we do? Even the sage rulers can't do anything to Chu Kuangren? Has the encirclement failed? Oh God, Grey Lord Sage, Sun Moon Sage, and the other sages looked terrible. If this operation failed, they would be doomed. More than half of the cultivators they brought with them had died in the astonishing cloud of seas formation. If they still could not destroy the Black Heaven sect, those cultivators would have died in vain. If you guys have no other techniques, then prepare to die. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and was about to attack. However, at that moment, he looked into the distance with a thought. A beam of light flew over. Wherever the beam of light passed, countless mountains were crushed by an incomparably terrifying force. A boundless and peerless pressure enveloped this part of the world. Apart from that ray of light, in another direction, the sound of howling waves came from the horizon. It was as if a tsunami was approaching. Two different terrifying auras came from two different directions. Similarly, it shocked the entire realm. Chu Kuangren, do you really think we have no other techniques left? Sage ruler Zhang Guang could not help but laugh when he sensed the two auras. The great bottomless chasm dwellers smiled proudly. The forefather is here. Chu Kuangren, prepare to die. The expressions of the other Saint Kings were rather grave. Tiske, the forefathers of the heavenly golden palace and the bottomless chasm are here. How extravagant! They've actually invited all of them. The golden ray of light and the sound of the tsunami had arrived. Both parties were hidden in a ball of golden light and a ball of blue light respectively. Greetings, forefather. Both sage ruler Zhang Guang and the great bottomless chasm dweller bowed. The other sage rulers dared not delay either. Greetings, forefather. The sage rulers who stood at the top of the sages were so respectful to the figures in the light. Everyone was shocked. What kind of beings were these two? That was what everyone was thinking. No need for formalities. An old but vigorous voice came from within the golden light. Then, the blurry figure in the golden light looked at the blue light and said with a faint smile, Daoist Hai Yu, we haven't seen each other for almost 10,000 years, right? Yes, I didn't expect that after 10,000 years, it would be to deal with a little guy below the sage level. What a pity. The voice of a middle-aged man came from within the blue light. Heh, this is not an ordinary person below the Saint Plane. His talent can be said to be unprecedented, and he also has two sovereign weapons. Even a few Saint Kings cannot do anything to him, the person in the golden light said with a smile. So what if he's a monster? Now that both of us are here, do you think he'll be able to survive? The voice of the person in the blue light was filled with killing intent. The temperature of the world seemed to have dropped to a freezing point. That's true. The people in the golden and blue lights conversed casually. They did not pay much attention to Chu Kuangren, as if killing him was as easy as killing an ant. This kind of calmness made everyone feel that it was inconceivable. After all, even the 6 sage rulers could not do anything to Chu Kuangren. Yet these two people did not take him seriously at all. Chu Kuangren activated his eye of revelation and looked at the two rays of light. Oh, so it's two old boundary emperors. Chu Kuangren said. Apart from the sage rulers, the sages at the scene gasped when they heard the words boundary emperors. Boundary emperors. These two people were boundary emperors. There were boundary emperors in the firmament star. To be able to see through our origins, little guy, you're really not simple. The person in the golden light said in surprise. All right, let's cut the chatter. Brother Chang Guang, hurry up and finish him off. Also, I want his Empyrean Neptune's halberd. Then the other emperor weapon belongs to me. Boundary Emperor Chang Guang's tone was a little emotional. Obviously, an emperor weapon was also very tempting to a boundary emperor. What a shame, little guy. If you were given a few more years, you might be able to reach the same height as us. However, it's your fault for being so arrogant. Now, it's better for you to die, Boundary Emperor Chang Guang said. As soon as he said that, the surrounding spiritual qi surged, and a palm qi shot out from the golden light. It was wrapped in an extremely powerful Daoist rhyme. Just that palm strike alone was far more powerful than a sage ruler's. A surge of qi locked onto Chu Kuangren, making it impossible for him to dodge or retreat. He could only let out a low growl and face the attack head-on. He swung the Empyrean Neptune's halberd in his hand, and the surging force of water that seemed to contain the power of the entire ocean smashed onto the palm qi. Amidst the explosion, Chu Kuangren was blasted away. The violent force of the impact cracked the bones in his arm, and the Empyrean Neptune's halberd almost flew out of his hand. Even with the innate ferocious armor, he still suffered quite a bit of damage. A boundary emperor's attack was not to be underestimated. The moment Chu Kuangren was heavily injured, his immortal body was already activated. His arms and body quickly returned to their original state. An immortal ability? Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang could not help but exclaim in surprise when he noticed the abnormality in Chu Kuangren's body. There's no such thing as an immortal body in this world. Boundary Emperor Hai Yi said. Then he too made his move. The surrounding Daoist rhymes manifested, and countless streams of water converged to form a water ball around Chu Kuangren, enveloping him within it. The torrential force crushed every corner of his body. In the blink of an eye, Chu Kuangren's body was almost crushed into a pile of meat paste. The intense pain made him look rather ferocious. This feels so King good. He roared and channeled the power of the Empyrean Neptune's halberd to its limit. Only then did he manage to break the water ball. This body of his is a little strange. Boundary Emperor Hai Yi was also shocked. Then, the two Boundary Emperors took turns to attack Chu Kuangren, causing his body to be continuously damaged. However, Chu Kuangren was able to recover from fatal injuries in a very short period of time. Is this guy really immortal? That made the two Boundary Emperors' scalps tingle. The sages at the scene were even more dumbfounded. So, this is his true trump card? A body that even a Boundary Emperor can't kill, an immortal body. Sage ruler Zhang Guang gulped. There's something strange about this guy. Let me capture him and study him. Boundary Emperor Hai Yi said. I'm quite interested too. Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang laughed. With such an immortal body, if they could study it, the rewards would be no less than an emperor's opportunity of fortune. After all, who did not want to be immortal? How about this, we'll each take half. Boundary Emperor Hai Yi said after a moment of silence. Each of us takes half of his body? We'll do as you say. I wonder if he can still be revived. Just as the two Boundary Emperors were about to split Chu Kuangren apart, they saw him standing on the same spot with bloodstains all over his body. However, he had a smile on his face as he looked up into the sky. Chapter 423. Chu Kuangren did not stand a chance against a Boundary Emperor. It did not matter even if he had two Emperor weapons. No matter how strong his foundation was, he was still below the level of a sage. There was a limit to the power of the Emperor weapons that he could wield. He was no match for a Boundary Emperor. However, even in the face of such a hopeless situation, he was still laughing. Every cultivator present, including the Boundary Emperors, was confused. Could it be that this fellow has gone mad from the torture? In front of a quasi-emperor, he has no way of fighting back. Even if he has that strange undying ability, what can he do? A Boundary Emperor can trap him and suppress him with a wave of his hand. Why is this guy laughing? Everyone was confused. Even the sage rulers were confused. What are you laughing about, kid? Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang sounded a little angry. To him, Chu Kuangren's laughter was a provocation to them. As Boundary Emperors, it was already a humiliation for them to fight someone below the level of a sage. However, they could not kill Chu Kuangren, and he was still laughing. That was like a slap to their faces. Heh, I'm laughing at the fact that you lot have mobilized so many Boundary Emperors just to deal with me, yet you still can't kill me. I'm laughing at the fact that you guys don't even know that you're on the brink of death. His last sentence made everyone's expression change. On the brink of death. What did he mean? Sage ruler Zhang Guang, the craggy ocean tower lord, and the others quickly looked around. However, apart from the clouds, they saw nothing. Chu Kuangren, you don't have to be so mysterious anymore. That's right. With a Boundary Emperor here, it doesn't matter what trump card you have. A Boundary Emperor's techniques are not something you can handle. A few sage rulers yelled. However, when Chu Kuangren heard that, the smile on his face widened. He laughed and said, "A Boundary Emperor. Even a Boundary Emperor has to die." How dare you? Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang unleashed a palm attack. Chu Kuangren's body was instantly shattered, but it quickly healed. He stood on the spot with the Empyrean Neptune's halberd in his hand. His aura was not weak at all, and he glared at everyone present. Inexplicably, a chill ran down everyone's spine. Are all of you guessing what my trump card is? Is it my Emperor techniques? Or is it this astonishing cloud of seas formation? Is it the two Emperor weapons in my hands? Or is it my immortal body? Wrong, all wrong. Every time Chu Kuangren mentioned a technique, The chill in the hearts of the crowd grew even colder. An inexplicable murderous intent filled the air. Any one of the techniques that Chu Kuangren possessed was a trump card that would make even a sage's scalp tingle. Monarch techniques, formations, monarch weapons. This caused everyone, including the Holy King, to suffer greatly. However, Chu Kuangren was now telling them that these were not his true trump cards. He had yet to reveal them. This made everyone feel incredulous. With the Empyrean Neptune's halberd in hand, Chu Kuangren's battle-intent soared as he pointed the halberd towards the sky and laughed. "My true trump card is in the sky." As soon as he finished speaking, the might on his body reached its peak, and it shot into the sky. The sea of clouds that covered the sky actually dispersed. A colorful light appeared in the sky. Following that, an extremely terrifying pressure of the heavenly Dao suddenly descended and enveloped every cultivator present, including quasi-emperors. The stronger one's cultivation base was, the more horrifying the pressure they felt. They looked up into the sky with a look of disbelief on their faces. Colorful clouds gathered in the sky, forming a terrifying vortex of colorful clouds above their heads that covered a 1,000-kilometer radius. The horrifying aura filled the air. That was the heavenly Dao's aura. It was the heavenly tribulation. Heavenly tribulation. This is the heavenly tribulation. What a terrifying heavenly tribulation. Is this Chu Kuangren's heavenly tribulation? When did this heavenly tribulation appear? Why didn't we notice it before? Everyone was panicking. Judging from the heavenly tribulation's aura and the strange colorful clouds, this was no ordinary heavenly tribulation. This was Chu Kuangren's heavenly tribulation. The tribulation clouds that covered a 1,000-kilometer radius were colorful. They had never heard of such a thing before. What the hell was going on with a heavenly tribulation like this? The 9-colored heavenly tribulation. This is the 9-colored heavenly tribulation. Compared to the other cultivators, great sage ruler Zhangguang, who came from the unknown lands and had read many records about emperors, knew more. Eminent, how can it be the 9-colored heavenly tribulation? Legend has it that this kind of heavenly tribulation only appeared once or twice in ancient times. How can Chu Kuangren attract such a heavenly tribulation? The great chasm dweller exclaimed in fear. The heavenly tribulation was a test for cultivators. The more outstanding a cultivator was, the more powerful the heavenly tribulation would be. Since ancient times, the 9-colored heavenly tribulation was the highest known heavenly tribulation to become a sage. Those who could survive this tribulation were the most terrifying demonic cultivators in the history of Firmament Star. Once they survived, it was almost certain that they would become emperors. It's not just the 9-colored heavenly tribulation. This heavenly tribulation covers an area of a 1,000-kilometer radius. What kind of heavenly power is this? The heavenly tribulation's aura has locked onto us. Since when did we become the heavenly tribulation's target? All the sages and sage rulers were terrified. It's this huge formation. Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang looked around at the gradually dispersing sea of clouds and said, "It's this huge formation that's concealing the heavenly tribulation's aura." By the time this guy revealed his heavenly tribulation, the heavenly tribulation had already recognized us as one of the ascendant cultivators due to our battle with him. In other words, this heavenly tribulation had appeared a long time ago, and everyone who attacked Chu Kuangren was part of the ascendant cultivator. At this point, even Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang's voice could not help but tremble, let alone the others who heard him. Everyone who attacked Chu Kuangren was part of the ascendant cultivator. Gulp, sage ruler Chang Kuang and the others gulped. They looked around with more and more horrified expressions on their faces. How many people were there? Hundreds of thousands of cultivators. Chu Kuangren had dragged hundreds of thousands of cultivators to accompany him in ascension. No wonder the heavenly tribulation's area is so wide. He had planned this from the start. He used the huge formation to conceal the heavenly power, then he fought with us and dragged everyone into the ascendant cultivator list. Lunatic. This lunatic. Can he withstand the heavenly tribulation of hundreds of thousands of cultivators? B****. He's going to perish together with us. All the cultivators were shocked by Chu Kuangren's crazy move. The more people who participated in the heavenly tribulation, the more powerful it would be. Therefore, since ancient times, the ascendant cultivators had to face the heavenly tribulation alone. They could not allow others to intervene, for fear that the heavenly tribulation would be too powerful. However, Chu Kuangren was different. He wanted to ascend, and he wanted to drag hundreds of thousands of cultivators along with him. There was only one person in history who would do such a thing. All the cultivators stared at Chu Kuangren with hatred, shock, and indescribable fear in their eyes. Under everyone's gaze, Chu Kuangren, who had planned this unprecedented heavenly tribulation, laughed out loud. I don't care if you're a sage ruler or a boundary emperor, I'll make sure that all of you who invade my Black Heaven sect today never leave this place alive. Come on, everyone. Enjoy this heavenly tribulation feast. Chapter 424. Everyone, let's enjoy this heavenly tribulation feast. Chu Kuangren laughed, and a loud explosion could be heard in the sky. The tribulation lightning was already gathering. The terrifying tribulation lightning energy was gathering in the colorful vortex. It was colorful as it slithered around like a python. Once the tribulation lightning energy had reached a certain level, countless lightning bolts started to wander in the void, gradually spreading to thousands of kilometers. Everyone trembled as they looked at the tribulation lightning. Quick, think of something. Quick, how can we stop the tribulation lightning? If this goes on, we're all going to die here. The tribulation lightning's power was too terrifying. Just its domineering aura alone was enough to make the sages feel numb. Moreover, the further it went, the more terrifying its power would be. Kill Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren is the one who attracted this heavenly tribulation, and we're just collateral damage. As long as we kill him, the heavenly tribulation will naturally disappear. Sage ruler Zhang Guang said loudly. At that moment, everyone looked at Chu Kuangren with murderous intent. Chu Kuangren beckoned them with his finger. Come. Today, only one side would survive. Either Chu Kuangren would die, or the 100,000-strong army would perish here. Kill Chu Kuangren. The 100,000-strong army went crazy under the threat of death. They had even subconsciously forgotten that even the two boundary emperors could not kill Chu Kuangren. How could they possibly kill him? The army charged forward, and all kinds of energy blasted towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stood proudly and gathered his divine ferocious avatar. The avatar blocked all the attacks with its body. At that moment, a colorful ray of light suddenly descended from the sky. That ray of light contained countless mysterious Daoist rhymes, and it turned into a circular light screen that covered thousands of kilometers. That was the light of heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation was about to begin. Acheron Manor Lord, can your 9 profound heavenly fire barriers stop this heavenly tribulation? The Death Palace Lord asked. Everyone remembered that the Acheron Manor Lord had once cast a 9 profound heavenly fire barrier in the Black Heaven sect. It had a wide range, and it was a boundary emperor weapon too. At that moment, everyone looked at the Acheron Manor Lord with hope. Stop dreaming. The 9 profound heavenly fire barrier can only trap, not defend. It can't stop this heavenly tribulation at all. The Netherworld Manor Lord's words mercilessly shattered everyone's hope. Boom! Countless loud noises resounded like firecrackers. Bolts of lightning fell like a torrential rain. Hundreds of thousands of tribulation lightning bolts fell. How magnificent was that scene! Even the astonishing cloud of seas formation could not completely isolate such a terrifying commotion. Almost every powerhouse in the firmament star could sense it. They looked towards the direction of the Black Heavens sect with their mouths agape. It was especially so for the spectators who were closest to the Black Heaven sect. When they saw the colorful tribulation clouds in the sky and the hundreds of thousands of colorful lightning bolts, they felt as if the world had been dyed into a colorful cloth. The rumbling thunder continued to resound, causing people to cover their ears. Boom! A Battle King warrior was struck by the tribulation lightning, and before he could even let out a scream, he was turned into ashes. Becoming a saint was perhaps his lifelong dream. Perhaps, if he worked hard, he might really be able to touch the threshold of becoming a saint in this era of the emergence of the Great Path and pass the tribulation by himself. But now, he was still just a battle monarch. He could enjoy the privilege of passing the tribulation in advance. However, as a mere battle monarch, he could not endure it at all. It wasn't just the nameless battle monarch. Many other cultivators were also enjoying the treatment that only those who had become saints could enjoy. Unfortunately, not many of them were able to enjoy it. It was just the first wave of tribulation lightning, but 90% of the cultivators were killed. Within 1,000 miles of the Black Heaven sect, countless craters were formed from the tribulation lightning, and a large number of tiny lightning arcs danced. Meanwhile, the spectating cultivators who were thousands of miles away gulped. They felt their bodies stiffen and their scalps go numb as they witnessed this scene. This was the power of the heavens. The true power of the heavens. At the edge of the astonishing cloud of seas formation, a gigantic ferry boat was floating in the air, and it was protected by an invisible barrier. This was the elusive mirage. On top of the elusive mirage were the Black Heaven sect cultivators. They looked in the direction of the rainbow-colored tribulation clouds with indescribable shock and deep worry in their eyes. So, this is the trump card that the sect leader was talking about. Elder Ruyan murmured. All this while, she had thought that Chu Kuangren was talking about the astonishing cloud of seas formation. In fact, the astonishing cloud of seas formation had indeed unleashed an extremely powerful force that destroyed the coalition army. However, even such a formation was not Chu Kuangren's trump card. His trump card was the heavenly Dao. It was the heavenly tribulation. Pulling hundreds of thousands of cultivators to pass the tribulation is something that has never happened before. The sect leader is too crazy. The Black Heaven's second and third forefathers were also scared to death by Chu Kuangren. Brother Chu has done many crazy things before, hasn't he? Immemorial Sage smiled bitterly. Can the sect leader withstand such a heavenly tribulation? Nangong Huang and the other disciples asked worriedly. Master can definitely do it, Lan Yu said with determination. That's right. All these years, he has created so many miracles that others thought were impossible. This time will be no exception. Gu Linglong took a deep breath and said as she looked into the distance. Everyone had no choice but to believe in Chu Kuangren. At the 9-colored heavenly tribulation. When the first wave of heavenly tribulation struck, 99% of the 100,000 cultivators were killed. Only a few sages and top-tier honorables remained. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren was facing his first tribulation lightning. Compared to the others, he was the main target of the 9-colored heavenly tribulation. Hence, his tribulation lightning was far stronger than the others. When the tribulation lightning struck, its power was enough to kill a sage. However, to Chu Kuangren, it was still insignificant. He raised his arm and struck out with his halberd. The tribulation lightning shattered, and the scattered lightning energy spread. Chu Kuangren seemed to have sensed something, and his expression changed slightly. This tribulation lightning caused his universal cauldron physique to react. Was this tribulation lightning also a type of strange energy? Chu Kuangren pondered. However, the second wave of tribulation lightning was about to arrive. Compared to the first, the second wave of tribulation lightning was much stronger. Boom! When the tribulation lightning struck, more than half of the remaining honorable supremes died. Only the sages could withstand it, and this was only the second wave of tribulation lightning. After all, there were 9 heavenly tribulations. Each wave was stronger than the one before. Chu Kuangren's second wave of tribulation lightning was also more terrifying than the others. If the second wave of tribulation lightning from others was only comparable to a sage's attack, Chu Kuangren's tribulation lightning was enough to kill most sages. To prove his theory, he did not destroy the tribulation lightning. Instead, he weakened the innate ferocious armor's power and used his body to block it. A portion of the tribulation lightning instantly surged into his limbs and bones. The universal cauldron physique activated. The tribulation lightning was converted into pure energy and stored within the universal cauldron physique. Chu Kuangren was delighted. This is really an unexpected harvest. Chu Kuangren grinned. At that moment, a majestic palm energy struck towards him. It was Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.